for over 40 years. Gliderol.com.au.
Australians will be working 2 hours more per week and earning 40% less if productivity performance doesn't improve over the coming decades. Treasurer Jim Chalmers will today deliver a speech on the issue, unveiling reforms to tackle the problem ahead of the release of the Productivity Commission report. A study completed by Australian and US researchers has revealed exactly how the early release of Super Scheme was used during the COVID pandemic. The research shows on average those who used the scheme cut their super balance by 51%. As for what it was spent on, the data shows gambling was top of the list, along with paying off debt. A group of academics and students is accusing major universities of dumbing down degrees. Donna Siramana reports.
Public Universities Australia, an alliance of academic, students and postgraduate associations, has criticised falling academic standards within our tertiary sector. In their submission to a Senate inquiry, they claim assessment tasks are being dumbed down to accommodate more domestic and international students with low levels of literacy and numeracy. They've told The Australian university executives are interested in making money, and the core functions of institutions such as teaching and research are frequently ignored.
A report is being prepared for the coroner after a suspected drowning at Port Hughes yesterday. The body of an 83-year-old man from the Copper Coast was found in the shallows. There are no suspicious circumstances. Lifeline is marking 60 years of operation today. The 24/7 telephone crisis line was launched on the 16th of March in 1963. A host of celebrations will be held to mark the occasion, but former chairman turned patron John Brogden says that won't stop volunteers from carrying out their vital work.
Our Lifeline volunteers and staff are just going to keep on working. They'll be there from midnight to midnight, working hard, looking after people and helping them get through very difficult times.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has met with his Fijian counterpart to discuss the effects of the AUKUS deal on regional security. The Fijian leader has indicated early support for the pact, a day after concerns were raised by Indonesia and Malaysia. Police trying to arrest Imran Khan at his house in Pakistan have withdrawn after clashes with protesters interrupted a cricket match. More from Brett McLeod.
For the second day running, supporters of the former Prime Minister and cricket great have had running battles with police, throwing rocks at them and setting fire to vehicles, as authorities responded with tear gas and rubber bullets. Police were trying to arrest Imran Khan on charges of misusing state gifts, but he resisted going to court, saying he was concerned about safety in the wake of the assassination attempt which saw him wounded last November. The police operation has been put on hold, the government and court saying the clashes were disrupting a cricket tournament nearby. Mr Khan now says he'll willingly go to court at the weekend.
Now turning to FIVEAA Sport.
Get 10-year warranty and 10 years capped price servicing on the new Mitsubishi Outlander at Agostino Mitsubishi.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Well, after a 167-day wait, footy is back with the MCG sold out for the season opener between Richmond and Carlton. Eddie Summerfield reports the first bounce is just over 12 hours away.
The pulse of the city, the MCG, is expecting more than 250,000 people through the gates over the next 4 days. It all begins tonight with Richmond and Carlton, a game that's been sold out for weeks. The Tigers unveiling giant recruits Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper, while the Blues begin their campaign chasing a first finals appearance since 2013. Ground staff are putting aside fears the playing surface hasn't recovered since Ed Sheeran concerts. 10,000 square metres of turf replaced in readiness for the season.
And the teams will be released for the other games happening this weekend, with Port and Brisbane to release their sides ahead of Saturday's twilight match at Adelaide Oval, while the Crows and GWS will release extended squads with their match not being played until Sunday. Let's go to cricket, and South Australia needs plenty of runs on day 3 of its Shield clash against New South Wales at Karen Rolton Oval. The Redbacks reached 3 for 134 at stumps in reply to the Blues' 9 for 447 declared. The Sydney Kings have claimed the NBL Championship, defeating the New Zealand Breakers 77-69. The Kings winning the best-of-5 series 3 games to 2. Meantime, Josh Giddey has claimed yet another triple-double, netting 15 points, 13 rebounds and 10 assists as his Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Brooklyn Nets 121-107. And that's the FIVEAA Sport.
Now the FIVEAA forecast, partly cloudy heading for 25, cloud clearing tomorrow 31. Partly cloudy on Saturday, 29 and 25 for Sunday. At the moment, 18. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
6 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Thursday, the 16th of March. And we've got a program for you today. Off to the US in the first hour of the show. The federal opposition leader, Peter Dutton, will be on after 7 o'clock. We'll be talking nuclear submarine deal with Peter Dutton. Then a little bit later in the morning, for the first time in 2023, Arazio Fantasia will join us on 5AA Breakfast. And there's good news on the Arazio front. He's fighting fit, well in the frame for round 1 this weekend. He's at 7:30, which means we've had to switch Matt Abraham to after 8 today. So Matt Abraham, if you want your weekly dose of spin dissection, will take place at 8:10. And the host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch, on the program as well. David Penberthy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, listeners. Well, after what feels like a very long wait, finally our lives resume a happy symmetry where, as of today, we can say, you're watching the game tonight?
Yes.
You're watching the game tomorrow night?
Weeks have structure now.
Life has a kind of compass at the centre of it again.
Because, you know, so
particularly for you, Will. I feel like I've got all my sort of Nancy boy, you know, hobbies, pottering around the house, making chutney and stuff like that. I feel like you've done it tougher than I have.
It's always a battle.
And lucky you've had a baby.
Yes,
that's distracted you.
But it's not a sustainable, going forward, it's not a sustainable policy to have one.
But the novelty wears off with everything eventually.
I need something else to tie me over from football season. Otherwise, it's going to be a big family over the years.
You can't have a child every year.
So I think there's some real structure that comes to your week when you suddenly have football involved. Because obviously the weekend's for watching football. Monday is for reviewing the football with your cohort of similar tragics.
Tuesday is often the day for complaining about the rules.
Tuesdays
been reported, who hasn't been.
Mondays,
why isn't Cochin up before the tribunal?
Mondays
all about the other day.
Monday is your team for review. Tuesdays when you go global AFL issues with your sort of bevy of AFL fan friends. Did you see that thing that happened? That umpiring decision and so on and so forth. That's Tuesday. Wednesdays you're turning your attention to the next week's game and starting to form pretty concrete positions around who should be dropped. Thursdays for finding out why nothing you wanted to have happened. And complaining about it, and then Friday you return to a world of optimism where you think, well, maybe we'll just snatch this one this week, and see the cycle completes.
We might have gone down by 7 goals after we folded in the last quarter against GWS, but there was that little 10-minute period in the second quarter where I don't know, it just if a few more things went our way,
it is nice.
Who do you think's mentally most vulnerable as a supporter this year, folks? The Crows supporters or the Port supporters?
What do you mean by most vulnerable?
Well, I think the Crows have an expectation management issue with their fans.
I think both clubs do.
Yeah, I think Crows fans think the rebuild is pretty much done. I don't think the club thinks that. I think the club thinks that, you know, 3 years from now, 2 to 3 years from now, they're going to have a crackerjack side. But I reckon a lot of the fans, just from talking to mates, it feels to me like a lot of people are talking about, the Crows are ready. And, you know, if we I reckon if we come 12th again, or 13th or 14th or 15th, I reckon a lot of fans are going to start.
It'll get savage. It'll get really ugly during the year.
It's worse for Port, though, I reckon. But I wonder whether there's not a hard core of Port supporters, there might even be one here in the building with us right now, who, if Port are like 2 from 6, they're just going to be, it's going to be open season on Ken. And also, 0 from 1, he just said in my ear, I reckon 2 on Koshi.
Oh, absolutely.
I reckon the whole operation,
absolutely,
a lot of Port fans, because how long is David Koch's sort of, it's almost like, you know, John Howard's rules that he used to put around the leadership. You know, I'm not talking about the leadership until I'm 64 years old, then I'll review it, and after that I'll make a decision, and then you can all shut up about it again. The idea that David Koch has decreed no one's allowed to talk about Ken Hinkley until, what, August? That's not going to work.
What's that saying about a triumph of hope over reality? Or
Yeah, optimism over reality.
Optimism over reality, that's what that statement reeks of. There's no chance. They lose first two games, and there's going to be conversation. There's conversation now.
I mean, tactically in the past, and, you know, from an HR perspective, hugely admirable tactic by the beloved Port chairman. But remember last year where he came out and said, lay off the receptionists. You know, he doesn't want people ringing the club and doesn't want all these trolls on social media saying what they say about Ken. Well, you know, that's a noble sentiment, but good luck stopping it.
Well, the only reason the receptionist cops it is because they don't have a phone line directly to Kochie.
Well, that's right. He's on Twitter.
11 after 6.
But it's good though, isn't it?
It's nice to have it back. Absolutely.
I fell out of love a bit with footy over the last few years. I think it's because of COVID. Just all those games with no crowds were just garbage. And being locked in the house too, I didn't find it the fun outlet that it was, where you could watch a game for entertainment and then ignore it. It felt to me like football became a kind of state-sponsored form of crowd control, like something in A Clockwork Orange, where you couldn't do anything,
so you had to watch.
So you had to watch Freo v St Kilda, one of those classic. There's too many of those who cares games in the AFL these days. Like, who really cares who wins out of Fremantle and St Kilda? I don't know any of their players.
Fremantle top 4 side last year. They're pretty good.
Were they?
Mm-hmm.
Top 4?
Yeah.
Wow. See, it's like a goldfish. I get from one side of the bowl to the other, and I go, look, there's a plastic diver again. Can't remember it. Can't remember what's going on, other than the Crows didn't.
Fifth.
I didn't think they were top 4.
Fifth. It's 12 after 6. We're going to take a break with some news headlines coming up for you next.
Summer might be over, but with Mad March upon us, now's the perfect time to get into your local Vinnie shop and pick up a bargain. Until Sunday, you'll save 40% off all clothing and shoes at all Vinnie's SA shops. Choose from a range of affordable pre-loved clothing, including top name brands. And remember, shopping at Vinnie's is good for our environment, good for you, and good for our community. Find something unique at a Vinnie shop near you.
For nearly 40 years, no one has done certified used cars quite like Steinborner Automotive, with dedicated yards including SA's best range of commercials loaded and ready to go, including SA's only dedicated small car and SUV centre, and SA's only large SUV and 4x4 centre suited for any lifestyle. Steinborner still also has the best range of Commodores, from ZBs to the collectibles. View all late model used vehicles at steinborner.com.au. Steinborner Automotive. It's well worth the trip.
Now, if weeds had ears, they wouldn't want to hear, David, what you've got to say.
No, that's right. Go ahead, Mr. Green Thumbs, it says. I will tell you, Will, I've been using Yates products for years, and the one defining characteristic of Yates products is they all work really well. That includes the all-new Yates Zero Triple Strike Garden Weed Killer Concentrate. Listen up, weeds. The new Yates product is here to stop weeds invading your space. Now, that might be your prized garden, your outdoor entertaining area, or your favourite vegetable patch.
And here's the gory detail. The triple strike technology penetrates the weed tissue, accelerates cell disruption and terminates weeds. Roots and all, takes care of the whole thing. All that plus a 24-hour action on most weeds, which means you'll see visible results really quickly.
I actually used some of this a couple of weeks ago, and all the cooch around the veggie patch, and it was gone within 72 hours. Fight those weeds in the garden, in the flower beds, and between the pavers with new Yates Zero Triple Strike.
If you want more information about Yates Zero Triple Strike, visit yates.com.au.
This is a circus for grown-ups. Rouge, winner of Best Circus 2020 Adelaide Fringe. Rouge is back at Gluttony by popular demand, with a mind-bending blend of death-defying acrobatics, grandiose cabaret and twisted burlesque. Titillating, subversive and shocking, with old favourites and brand new acts to shock, tease and delight the senses. This is Australian circus cabaret at its climax. Critics called it filthy and gorgeous. Rouge. Book your tickets now at adelaidefringe.com.au.
People give me a hard time because of the way I am with my car. I just think I keep my vehicle to a certain standard. And eBay has all the products I need. Never underestimate what a good wax and polish can do. You see, eBay is home to Australia's widest range of car parts and products. The best bit though, if it doesn't fit, eBay's got my back with their money-back guarantee. So I can browse, buy, carefree with eBay's money-back guarantee.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
16 after 6, if you want to watch along, you can do precisely that on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream, or interact with the program by shooting us through your thoughts on the Duttons text line. Already the footy banter has started early on the Duttons text line.
Good one here from Andre Millswood. Morning, Dave and Will. The Crows supporters are the most vulnerable because the media has built them up for a better year, which won't happen. On the other hand, I'm a 50-year Port member, hoping I see another premiership before I leave the planet. Cheers from Andre and go the power. Thanks for that, Andre.
Depending on Andre's age, that's either a very optimistic or a very pessimistic text. Because if Andre's 96, you go, well, Andre's feeling really good about where the list's at. But if Andre's 50...
Well, he's a 50-year Port member. How old was he when he joined? Was he 3?
Andre from
Was he
Millwood
20?
sounds like he was at birth. He was given a birth certificate and a Port membership, I would have thought.
Fred says, I think Crows supporters this year don't want to hear the word rebuild.
Well,
go on you, Fred.
It's going to be unavoidable, I think. News headlines time. A new report is warning Australians in the future will be working an extra 2 hours a week for lower incomes.
I'm not working 17 hours a week. That's a joke, folks. There's much more to a radio station than the 3-hour on-air bit.
Weren't we talking about the 4-day week the other day?
Yeah,
What happened to that?
Make up your minds.
Jim
is this of all the submarines we just bought?
No. This is a productivity story. Treasurer Jim Chalmers is going to use a speech on the issue to discuss what is needed to improve worker skills and make the economy more dynamic. The Productivity Commission will release its full report tomorrow. Making the economy dynamic is an interesting concept. You know, there's a list of the most complex economies on Earth that comes out. It's sort of a measure of, it's a measure of economic complexity, and you've got countries like the United States up the top, and these advanced economies with multiple major industries. Do you know where Australia ranks on that list? Depending on the year, usually it's about 91st. Do you know that the closest countries to us on Earth are?
African countries?
Namibia?
Yeah, I thought so.
Is the closest country to us in terms of economic complexity.
Is that because they're so mineral dependent?
It's because, like them, all we do is dig stuff up and ship it out. There is very little else that's done in terms of, Yeah,
you said the other day, which surprised me, I didn't know we were this high, we're the 14th biggest economy.
14th biggest economy in the world. We're a similar sized economy to Russia.
Yet we're in the sort of second quadrant of complex economies.
Well,
how many countries are there in the world? About 500? 400?
It's a great question. I'm not sure. But we're closer to 100th than first, if you put it that way.
Yeah. 195. So we're exactly halfway.
Yeah.
195 countries in the world. Can you name them all, Luce? Starting with Andorra, Austria, Azerbaijan, Algeria, Andorra.
The United States
going all day.
Has vowed to continue to fly drones in international airspace near Ukraine after an encounter with Russian fighter jets that result in the loss of a US drone. $32 million this drone was worth. I just fell off my chair when I heard that.
I haven't seen him for that much at JB Hi-Fi.
Have you seen some of the drones that were exported to Ukraine made in Australia made out of cardboard?
They're pretty amazing.
They're flat packed and you sort of pop them up.
With a $32 million drone, you get some pretty nice shots of the busted up old jetty at Port Warringah, couldn't you?
You would look magnificent, I imagine.
And you could probably take out a few cars on Aldinga Beach with it as well.
Absolutely, until some sort of Russian Top Gun Maverick decides to fly past and dump his fuel on it.
Would only be able to go at 10 kilometres an hour though at Aldinga.
General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, labelled the actions of the Russians unprofessional and aggressive, but stopped short of calling it an act of war.
Incidents happen, and clearly we do not seek armed conflict with Russia, and I believe that at this point we should investigate this incident and move on from there. But we will continue to exercise our rights in international airspace.
A toddler is in an induced coma in a Brisbane hospital after she swallowed a button battery. 1-year-old Amity Buchanan has suffered burns to her esophagus. Her father claims it could have been avoided if she wasn't initially sent home from the Mackay Hospital without having had an X-ray.
These are shocking, these things.
They're the tiny little flat batteries.
That's happened quite a lot to kids. And there's been a push on... The Labor Senator, Muriel Smith, has done a lot of advocacy about changing the laws as to how they're sold and having restrictions around access. But I guess the thing is, like, if you're changing one in your watch or something like that, and you know, or indeed any device that uses one, you've got to keep your wits about you if you've got kids around.
A former Adelaide Lord Mayor has been appointed the state government's trade and investment special envoy to Singapore and Southeast Asia. It's a 2-year role for Martin Hazy. He'll report directly to Minister for Trade and Investment Nick Champion. Used to be a regular on the 5AA Breakfast Show.
Martin Hazy, the old Hazy Fantasia. That's a good promotion.
That feels like that's a good spot for him.
He's such a good advocate for the city and for the state. And I think he's got a familial connection there too, because I'm pretty sure that his wife is Singaporean.
Right.
Which is a good door-opening...
It's fantastic.
Imagine living in Singapore for 2 years. I don't think of worse places to live for 2 years.
I love Singapore.
Safe, organised, and you can't get bad food there.
It is. It's exceptional.
Hasn't it got more Michelin-starred restaurants than a lot of European countries?
Yeah, well, it seems to be one of those sorts of places where all the famous big chefs in the world go there and open up another restaurant.
Probably because there's people who've got so much money as well.
Exactly.
There's a restaurant there called Burnt Ends, which is Texan barbecue in Singapore, and apparently it's one of the best. It's a Michelin-starred Texan barbecue restaurant. Burnt Ends being the end of the brisket that gets all crunchy.
A group of academics and students is accusing universities of dumbing down degrees in a bid to boost enrolments. Public Universities Australia has warned a Senate inquiry. There's an attitude among senior management at institutions treating students as cash cows, and the core functions of universities are frequently ignored.
Does that gel with your experience, Will?
With which degree that I didn't complete, are you asking?
How many degrees did you not pass?
About 3.
Yeah, right. I didn't finish.
I kept going trying to find what I liked, and I didn't like any of it. No, that's not true. 14, but largely true. 14 people have died and several others are missing in floods that swept through southeast Turkey. Gee, poor old Turkey's had their fair crack of it at the moment, haven't they? Among the victims were survivors of last month's earthquakes who'd been living in container homes. That's cruel.
That is miserable, isn't it? Hey, if we have any Turkish listeners, I'm sure we have got some Turkish listeners. I've noticed in the past month since the terrible, terrible earthquake, a lot of broadcasters now don't say Turkey, they say Turkey-a.
Yeah, because they actually asked for it to be changed at the United Nations. That preceded the earthquakes. It's just that they've been in the news a lot now.
Turkey-a.
Yeah, and so
is that the way it's pronounced in Turkish?
Apparently so, but the spelling has changed now too. It's not the
so it's Turkiye.
Yeah, and with a little.
It's like a little accent,
like an umlaut. I think in German they call it, but whatever it is in Turkish, I'm not sure.
It's the form of punctuation that looks like a little C attached to the top of a word.
Oh no, it's the 2 dots. I think.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it is an umlaut.
Yeah. So
are we going to start calling all countries by their actual name? Like, are we going to start saying? And in the World Cup, Australia have drawn Sverige in the first round.
Well,
Sweden,
I think it's
España.
It's a really interesting question. But the thing that blows your mind is when you realise that not all countries call each other the same thing. Like,
no, well, there's no standard. It's weird. Like you know, the Indonesian word for Greece is Yunani, and you think Yunani? Where does that come from? Yunani, because Greece in Greek is Hellas. So how the hell do the Indonesians come up with Yunani? But then you think about it, the Ionian Sea.
Right.
So then Yunani is kind of like a Bahasa way of saying Ionian.
So, because like you originally, I thought, well, this is going to be a bit odd if we all have to start saying it in the way the home country does. But it actually makes significantly more sense than everyone just coming up with their own version. It's like Germany. It's Deutschland in Germany. We call it Germany. The Poles call it Niemiec. Like,
what's that mean?
It's nothing good.
Bastards.
Tom Wren's in the 5AA Breakfast Studio. Let's get 10-year warranty, 10 years cap price servicing on the new Mitsubishi Outlander at Agostino Mitsubishi. Morning to you, Rennie.
Morning, boys.
Are you psyched, Tom?
I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to tonight. And just think about it. I want your tip in a minute, so we want to get off to a winning start. Don't give it yet. We'll do it at the end. So have a bit of think time. Maybe go through the sides as I'm talking, and you can glaze over like most people normally do when I'm talking. But we've got heaps of footy this morning, which is great. Arazio Fantasia, David Koch is coming up later, so looking forward to those chats. And just good to have Arazio talking about actually playing, which is so exciting. So
he's had a rough old trot.
He's had a terrible time. So
he's the world's nicest bloke, and I found it really hard. Like, because he's doing this today. Most times he actually comes into the studio, and he always brings us coffee and everything else, but Last year, it was kind of almost awkward.
Yeah.
Because he played like 2 SANFL games.
He didn't play a single minute in the AFL. So finally, we're going to see him this week. But the other one I wanted to speak about, and Will, I know you'll be all over this, is I was lucky enough to head out there yesterday, but we've talked a bit about him, Nestoroi Irankunda. Gee, it was nice just to meet him in the flesh and his dad and just hear their story. And, you know, Parafield Gardens High School, he's going to, you know, real blue-collar sort of area. And one of 7 moved out here from Tanzania to Perth when he was a few months old, came to Adelaide when he's 7 years old. I mean, what a rise. And, you know, you can tell just a good working-class family and so humble. And just to see that in front of you and this talent and you're going, oh my God, like, there's so much potential here. And United are doing a brilliant job with him, but he's not going to be here for long.
He's on the... You don't want to... There's a lot of expectation, and his potential is limitless. But it's not unrealistic to suggest that from a working-class family that comes from Tanzania, his kids will never have to have a job in their life, such as his talent. At 17 years of age, he's going to go to Europe, and he's going to learn bucket loads of money playing football, unless something goes wrong.
Yeah.
His natural talent's there. His application appears to be there. With some question marks about, you know, how he applied himself at Adelaide United. And Culver's been really good in holding him to account and setting some standards for professionalism with him, holding him back when others, like me, would love to have seen him start and play 90 minutes to see what he can do. But he's held him back, and it seems to have served him really well because I watched the interview with him, Rennie, and he speaks now beyond his years.
Doesn't he? He was so impressive. And I think with a family like he's got, the one thing I think you have to do in any sport is to stay humble. And I think, given his background, I think that will hold him in really good stead. You know,
sounds like he might play for the Socceroos in the second game.
Yeah,
Graham Arnold suggested.
Yeah, is he the most exciting talent we've ever produced in this state from a soccer perspective? I think he's up there. He'd have to be up there in any sport.
Yeah,
you know, it's and this sort of African talent that we've got coming through now. It's
exciting, isn't it?
It is so exciting. Anyway, that really. It made me smile yesterday just when I was out there and thinking about it, and I'm glad you obviously saw it as well, Will. It was a good interview, wasn't it?
Oh, fantastic.
And he got better as it went on.
Yeah.
He was nervous at the start, but then grew into it. And you expect that for a 17-year-old. 5 cameras. And
he's so exciting. It's great. And it's nice to look when you look at the Socceroos and you look at the junior levels as well. It is a cross-section of Australia. You'll see people with the last name Irankunda, and you'll see people with the name Thompson or Smith, or you'll see Bozanovsky or Bajic. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's so many wonderful stories, and he's as good as any.
It certainly is. Now, before I go, Richmond Carlton tonight, are you going to be one from... I hate getting the first tip wrong of the year because then I go, I'm done for the year.
It's actually a tough one.
Really tough. I've gone the Tigers. I'm expecting you doing the same.
I have as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we're all...
as much as it pains me to see them win or even exist, I'll go for the Richmond Tigers.
Good on you, Rennie.
Thanks, boys.
All South Aussies can find the cheapest fuel in an instant. Download the free My RA app.
How does it life in Henley Beach sound? Just imagine sitting by your pool on a hot summer's day with friends and family and not a worry in the world. With $250,000 in your bank. This could be your reality if you win the $3.5 million Scott Salisbury Homes grand prize in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery. To see full lottery details and get your tickets, visit homelottery.com.au. Licence M14311.
How far would you go for your dream kitchen? And how far would you go to get 25% off? How about 15 minutes up the freeway to Balhanna Kitchens by Design, to the largest showroom in the Adelaide Hills? Custom build your dream with our award-winning designers and get 25% off your cabinets with laminate bench tops. For a limited time, of course. Balhanna Kitchens by Design. It's not too far to go to make your dream a reality. balhannakitchens.com.au.
Witness centuries of ancient Chinese culture resurrected before your eyes. Shenyun breathes life into legends and tales very nearly lost forever. Standing ovations at the world's top venues, sold-out shows throughout North America, and packed houses across Asia have made Shenyun Performing Arts an international phenomenon. Now you can experience the global sensation for yourself. Let Shenyun take you on an extraordinary journey through 5,000 years of Chinese civilization. From ancient dynasties to modern day, inspiring stories and legends spring to life through classical Chinese dance. Shenyun. Coming to Festival Theatre, April 6th to the 9th. Tickets at shenyun.com/Adelaide. That's SHENYUN.com/Adelaide. Or call 08-7081-7751.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Partly cloudy and 25 with the 6:30 news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Gliderroll Garage Doors new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderroll.com.au.
Federal government ministers are brushing off Paul Keating's attack on the AUKUS deal. The former Labor Prime Minister described the nuclear submarine agreement as the worst deal in history and has also criticised the Foreign Minister's approach to improving Pacific relations. Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs Tim Watts has told Today, while he respects Paul Keating's legacy, he hasn't been in government for nearly 3 decades.
Things have changed for Australia's strategic environment since the 1990s. We're seeing an unprecedented build-up of militaries in our region, and it's important in that context that Australia responds. If we want to maintain stability in our region, in the Indo-Pacific, we need to invest in the capability to deter conflict.
A study has offered more insight into how those who accessed their super during the COVID pandemic spent the money. $38 billion was withdrawn by those who fit the criteria under the Morrison government stimulus program. Research found people withdrew an average of $1,000 in cash, and most of it was spent on gambling. About 16% of Australian women are estimated to have experienced economic abuse at the hands of a partner. The Australian Bureau of Statistics has released data on the abuse as a separate category for the first time. It found economic abuse is experienced at similar levels to physical abuse. A house has gone up in flames at Broadview. It broke out around 2:30 on Collins Street. Crystal Mitchell from the MFS says no one was home at the time.
There is extensive damage and roof collapse, and damage is estimated at $300,000. Cause is currently undetermined, and fire investigators will be attending this morning.
A toddler's in an induced coma in a Brisbane hospital after she swallowed a button battery. 1-year-old Amity Buchanan suffered burns to her esophagus. Her father claims it could have been avoided if she wasn't initially sent home from Mackay Hospital without having an X-ray. It's hoped a new treatment for type 2 diabetes could remove the need for insulin injections. A non-surgical procedure uses a device to send out electrical pulses inside the small intestine, encouraging the regeneration of blood sugar regulating cells. Australian Centre for Accelerating Diabetes Innovations Director Professor Elif Ekensi says a new trial will apply the therapy to those in the advanced stages of the disease.
Insulin is typically used in more sort of complicated people with diabetes. So for example, they've tried important lifestyle measures, they've tried medications, they've tried multiple medications, but their blood sugars are still high and resistant.
And one of the headline acts at this year's Adelaide Festival will take to the stage tonight. Lord is performing in SA for the first time since 2014. Ticket holders are being reminded the show has been moved to the Entertainment Centre. The New Zealander shot to fame as a 16-year-old when the song Royals became a US #1. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Footy is back, and tonight we'll see Richmond take on Carlton at a packed MCG. Tom de Koning will take on the brunt of the rucking duties for the Blues, with Michael Voss leaving Mark Pittonay out of the side. Richmond duo Dion Prestia and Jayden Short have both overcome injury and have been named and are fit to play. The Crows will play their first match against GWS on Sunday. Coach Matty Nicks telling Treaders and Timmy G they've gained a lot of confidence, especially after their final practice match against the Eagles.
You know, the West Coast game was as good as we've played for a long time. We put a lot of our game plan and a lot of the work we've been doing into practice. And so that was really pleasing. So when you win a game of footy, it's not only about the scoreboard, it's about how you go about it. So that's given us a fair bit of confidence.
To cricket, South Australia will resume at 3 for 134 on day 3 of its Shield clash against New South Wales at Karen Rolton Oval, still trailing the Blues' first innings total by a whopping 313 runs. Well, the Sydney Kings have overturned a 7-point deficit in the final quarter to win the NBL Championship decider against the New Zealand Breakers. The 77-69 victory in Game 5 of the series secures back-to-back titles for the Kings.
They've done it again! The Sydney Kings sit on their throne and rule over the NBL. Back-to-back champions!
Audio thanks to ESPN. Well, the 2026 FIFA World Cup will be contested by 48 nations, creating a 104-game program. Meantime, in European Champions League action, it's on again this morning. Liverpool up against Real Madrid, trying to overturn a 5-2 deficit from the first leg of their knockout tie. It's 0-0 currently, a few minutes in. And that's the 5AA sport.
Now to the weather. Partly cloudy and 25 today. Cloud clearing tomorrow, 31. Partly cloudy for Saturday, 29. And cloudy on Sunday, 25. At the moment, 17. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
24 minutes to 7. Lots of good texts coming through on the Duttons text line. Stu in Elizabeth Vale says, boys, did you see the masterclass by Keating at the press club yesterday? Tour Journo's a new one. We will talk about that over the course of the morning, I have no doubt, and I suspect Peter Dutton at 7 o'clock will have something to say about it as well.
It was an extraordinary spray. He didn't miss anybody.
It felt like it was pent-up aggression towards the journalistic class that he'd been wanting to release for quite some time.
And I don't think he's ever been a fan of Albo either. I think he's always regarded Albo as a lightweight. What do you call him, a dill?
Dill. Him
a dope.
Penny Wong and Richard Miles, he said, were just essentially incompetent.
Yes, we'll have a proper
we will talk about
in-depth chat about that after 7 o'clock when the federal leader of the opposition joins us.
Dave Lloyd makes the point, if we were going, people now need to refer to countries by the pronunciation of that country's name where it came from. Will the rest of the world start calling us Australia then?
Australia.
Australia.
Straya. The way it should be spelt.
That's an interesting point. We should go to the UN with that. I think that's not a bad idea, Dave. Thank you for that. You can text us on the Duttons text line or jump on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream. Big event taking place today. It's the launch, the official launch, and sold out as well of an initiative to try and get more women involved in the South Australian Liberal Party. It'll be attended by a host of luminaries from the party's past. Vicky Chapman, the Business SHO Nikki Govan, Olympian Jess Stenson is going to be there for the launch of what is known as Hilma's Network here in South Australia. Dr. Anna Finizio joins us on 5AA Breakfast. Doctor, good morning to you.
Good morning, James. Thank you so much for having me on this morning.
No, look, thanks for joining us, Dr. Finizio. Now, I've been covering state politics for more than 30 years, and in that time I've seen a lot of impressive blokes who have done a good job on both sides of politics. But I've seen a fair few time servers and dullards and blokes who just like the lifestyle of sitting around, you know, in the members' dining room, getting on the red wine. How do you dismantle a boys' club when it's not going to voluntarily go into liquidation and stop people like that
question.
being rewarded not on merit but on the fact that they're connected?
Look, this is exactly what Hilma sets out to do. And you understand the Liberal Party mechanics is different from the Labor Party in that we're actually governed from the bottom up. Our members have a lot of power and they ultimately have the say in who's pre-selected into the parliament. So, Hilma seeks to act in a number of ways. First of all, having women there available, ready to go, ready to run and put their hands up when pre-selections come about, but also have them at all levels of the party, whether it be a member of state council, presidents of local branches. So they're influencing, the party at multiple levels with the hope that we're going to see better representation in the parliament. So I think, first of all, having women front and centre is a good way to start.
So, but it's not like, because Labor, when Joan Kerner, the former Victorian Premier, Labor women got fed up with this in the same way as you guys are in about probably 1998, 99, I think. That's when they set up Emily's List. But the blunt instrument they used was an affirmative action target. The Liberals, and indeed you guys at the Hilma Network, do you reject that approach still?
Look, Hilma's Network, we don't really take policy positions, but I can speak, from my personal point of view, and I do support taking stronger affirmative action. I think that, we've been doing the same thing for a while now, and it doesn't seem to be working. So I'm certainly supportive of that. But we can't just have, one issue being quotas or hard targets addressed. I think we need to look at, more broadly the barriers that are stopping women from stepping up into these positions. And I think what HILMAS tries to do is actually have women there ready to go, because some organisations, and I sit on boards and different governing bodies, they've implemented quotas, but they're still not having women fill the roles. And I think HILMAS, as a first start, and look, I'm not on state council, I can't influence the decision of the party to adopt quotas, but one thing I can actively do is get more women involved so they're ready to go and step up.
Sometimes this debate is characterised as being one whereby the women are having to convince the men of the merits of, if not affirmative action or targets, at very least proactively trying to address the gender imbalance. But the reality in the South Australian Liberal Party too has been there's a host of women in the party that bristle at the concept that they should be directed to do anything other than what would be the organic change that would take place at branch level. What do you say to them?
Look, I appreciate a number of women have had to, go through the system as it stands, and they think, well, if I've had to do it, you've had to do it too. But times are changing, and we've got to recognise that the ways of the old haven't been working, and we need to do everything we can but a quota is not uncompetitive. It's actually competitive. You'll have a whole lot of women, competing for a position. What a quota does is level the playing field. It removes some of the barriers that currently exist and that are stopping women, coming forward to run. So I'd definitely encourage them to reconsider their position and see that, not only has the Labor Party adopted it, but the private sector are adopting it, across the board as well. So, I think that the community expect their parliament and the government to be representative, and we can't be representative if we're not representing half the population, which are women.
Yeah, I personally totally agree with you, Dr. Fantasia, and I've got to say, over the years, on both sides of politics here in SA, I can think back to people like the Transport Minister in the Brown government, Diana Laidlaw, the Education Minister, Susan Lenihan, right at the tail end of the Bannon/Arnold government, the Tourism Minister, Barbara Weiss. And these women, they're all very competent, very capable, very engaging, but they were almost curiosities because there were none of them there. And I think the last federal election result for your guys, your side of politics, showed what happens when you lose the female vote, and it's going to be a fair way back from there for the party federally. So good luck with it all, Dr. Anna Fantasia, for the HILMA network launch for the Liberal Party here in South Australia. 17 minutes to 7, 8223 0000 is our number. You can text us too on the Dutton's text line. We're going to come back with police and weather in just a moment. We'll check traffic first.
Thanks, Will, and good morning. Felix Stoke got a burst water main Paynham Road near Barnes Road. Got a slip lane closed there inbound at the moment. It's slow going for works at Elizabeth North, Main North Road near Wommer Road, speeds at 60. And got a lane closed this morning at Frueville. Glen Osmond Road near Fullerton, speeds reduced there too. Cameras on the drive-in today, look out for those. You'll find one John Rice Avenue, Elizabeth South, and Kester's Road at Para Hills West. 40 Winks are busy, marking down prices for their huge blackout sale, where you'll get dramatic reductions store-wide. Exclusions and T's and C's apply. And Sunday, 40 Winks, serious about sleep. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Hey, you in the car. If your next service is due, just remember that Mawson Lakes Mazda has your back. We'll take care of you with next day servicing, complimentary loan car, vacuum and wash, and your breakfast or lunch is on us. Your car gets the love too, with our state-of-the-art service centre brimming with top-trained mechanics. At Mawson Lakes Mazda, we'll look after your car and look after you. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
Hello, I'm Andrea Lewis, Head of Animal Welfare for RSPCA South Australia. Every year we see hundreds of animals suffering. The most devastating thing is seeing animals we can't help. The Animal Welfare Act hasn't changed much in this generation, and often we legally can't help until it's too late. Right now, the state government are listening. These animals need your voice to change the law, to help animals before it's too late. Visit rspcasa.org.au before March 26 to learn how.
So here we are. Welcome to the middle of the commercial break. This is the space that we dedicate to promoting the many businesses we support. And look, here's the great thing. It's available to your business, big or small.
That's right. 5AA is putting on a few special talks about how we engage with our audience, how they engage with us, and importantly, how we can deliver an engaging advertising campaign that will help you stand out from the crowd. Now more than ever, businesses need attention.
You'll gain insight into how top-rating 5AA radio shows work. You'll take some handy marketing tips as well that you can apply straight away. Now, we're running several sessions at the Lion Hotel, North Adelaide on March 21 and March 22.
So if you want to promote your business better, head to engageadelaide.com.au and choose the time that suits you. Plus, how's this? Entry's free. That's engageadelaide.com.au. And here are some more businesses to consider.
What if your next holiday was always parked just outside the front door? Dave Benson Caravans sell your next holiday, and unlike an expensive overseas holiday, your dollar remains as an asset, your caravan. With over 120 new or used caravans and campers on display under one roof, the DBC Caravan professionals can tailor your next family holiday to your lifestyle and needs. Your Australian journey awaits and begins at Dave Benson Caravans, 64 Grand Junction Road, Kilburn.
Aldi's Southern-style chicken portions are on sale for $9.99 per kilo and loaded with flavor from the deep south. In fact, they're so southern they're made with Australian chicken. That's southernier than me. Aldi, good, different.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
14 minutes to 7. Let's talk about the weather. Simon Timke's the senior forecaster at the Bureau this morning. Simon, good morning to you. Tell us about Thursday.
Morning, Will. Morning, David. Look, a little bit of low cloud around the place to start off with this morning in a westerly airstream. And the clouds helped stop the temperature dropping too low. We're currently sitting on our overnight minimum, 17.0 degrees. But not expecting the day to be too hot ahead. Maximum temperature of 25 degrees for the city, 25 as well for Noarlunga and Glenelg, 26 for Mount Barker, 27 for Elizabeth. Those westerly winds, a little bit fresh at times, turning around southwesterly in the evening. So a bit of cloud around, but should remain dry today. On Friday, could be a little bit of patchy fog around to start off with on Friday morning, but a sunny afternoon. The wind's pretty light to start off with, but they'll tend around a little bit more east to northeasterly during the day, giving us a warmer day than today, down to 16 overnight, and then a maximum of 31 degrees for Friday with, as I said, a sunny afternoon. Saturday, a bit of cloud around and a change moving across during the afternoon. So north to northeasterly winds are first, turning southwesterly during the afternoon, bringing some milder conditions. 29 degrees the maximum ahead of that southwesterly change. And a bit of a warmer night too, 21 degrees the minimum there. I think that change should be dry. Not expecting any showers on Saturday, but there might be one or two around on Sunday, most likely about the hills and southern suburbs, I think. And a bit milder following that change as well, 25 degrees the maximum for Sunday. Bit of cloud clearing on Monday, 25 degrees, then a couple of sunny days to follow. Tuesday and Wednesday, mostly sunny days, 26 degrees, guys.
Beautiful. Lovely numbers. Thank you, Simon.
Good on you, Simon. All right, let's head to St. Paul. Senior Constable Kate Dawson's on the line. Kate, an L-plater's crashed his car at Burton.
Yeah, this was about 1:30am this morning. Police were called to Potts Crescent after a BMW sedan that had been travelling northwest on Burton Road lost control as it turned right onto Potts Crescent. So the car crashed into several trees and a corrugated iron fence before coming to a stop in the front yard of a home. When patrols arrived, they located the driver, a 22-year-old Burton man, still with the car, and checks revealed that he only held a learner's permit. So he was breath tested and allegedly returned a positive reading of 0.178, which is over 3 times the limit. Obviously, learners are only allowed to have 0. The man was reported for 2 counts of contravening a learner's permit, drink driving and driving without due care, and he lost his licence on the spot for 12 months. His car was towed from the scene and he will be appearing in the Elizabeth Magistrates Court at a later date.
Not exactly off to a flying start in his driving career, is he? Unbelievable. Kate, also a bloke was arrested after police spotted a stolen car travelling at extreme speed.
Yeah, this was about 12:45am this morning. A patrol saw a Toyota RAV4 speeding through a red light on Anzac Highway, allegedly at about 150 kilometres an hour in a 60k zone before it headed north into the city. So the car continued travelling at speed through the city and then popped out onto Henley Beach Road, where Polair picked it up and started tracking the vehicle. So the car continued at about 140 kilometres an hour along Grange Road before it stopped on Mill Street in Findon. Police surrounded the area, and soon after, the driver, who's a 30-year-old Findon man, was arrested without incident. So that RAV4 had also been reported stolen from Brighton on Tuesday. The arrested man has been charged with a number of serious offences, including aggravated extreme speed. He lost his licence for 12 months. He was refused bail and will be appearing at the Port Adelaide Magistrates Court today.
Yeah, it's funny, just looking at the note up on my screen about the person who was driving that way, there's no reference to their gender. It says person arrested after police spotted a stolen car, and I just assumed it was a guy. It is weird. It is weird though. It's always a guy, pretty much, isn't it? Whenever someone's doing 130, it would almost be a story if, like, a 57-year-old woman had been caught doing such speed. Does that gel with your experience on the beat, Kate? Like, speeding in cars does seem to be largely a guy thing.
Yeah, it does seem to be predominantly men that get caught speeding. However, it does happen occasionally where it is women. So, but yeah, you're right. It is disproportionately men.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Good on you, Kate. Seeing you can't stop Kate Dawson. What's our problem as blokes? Why do we think that it's some sort of that the car's an extension of our masculinity?
It's just sort of being macho.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
It is. It's really sad.
There's no if any woman has ever, I've asked this question before, seen a bloke chucking a burnout or doing 130 in an 80 zone and gone, "Oh, be still my foolish heart."
Do they do it for the women or their other mates, though?
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe it's subliminally homoerotic behaviour.
Well, I wasn't going to go that far, but
I thought that's what you were suggesting.
I don't mind. That is an ad campaign, actually. Tim Lester for 7 News in the US joins us. Morning to you, Tim.
Morning, guys.
Fresh news out of Wall Street. Everything's looking a little bit wobbly over there in the finance world.
Yes, go figure. The bank scare we all thought had dissipated by yesterday afternoon. It looked like it was last week's news, but bank jitters have re-emerged significantly today, including a credit downgrading for another of the regional banks in trouble here in the US. That caused its value to plummet. But more worryingly was that the jitters now seem to be on the other side, or are on the other side of the Atlantic, particularly with Credit Suisse, the big Swiss bank that's been facing some troubles. It lost, at one stage, a third of its value today as its shares plummeted. This after Saudi backers, the main investors, said they weren't putting any more money in it. And that promptly dragged down key banks in European markets, including in London, in Paris and in Germany as well, losing all of them somewhere around 10%. So a lot of nerves still about the banking sector.
And does this all stem back, Tim, to the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank?
Well, a lot of the same forces are certainly at play. The key thing to know in the Silicon Valley Bank collapse was that rising interest rates ruined its equation for making money, essentially buying government bonds and holding them long term. Well, those bonds just sunk in value as interest rates rose. Well, the European Central Bank meets tomorrow. The Fed over here meets next week. Both are supposed to be looking at significant interest rate rises to cool inflation, but a lot of observers are now saying they can't do that. They're hurting the banking sector, and if they go as hard as they want to, they could trigger a more significant run on banks now anywhere.
Politically, Tim, is this ongoing shakiness or lack of confidence in the system being interpreted as the measures that the Biden administration took immediately after the collapse of SVB haven't really allayed concerns? Because, geez, they were pretty forthright in saying that the deposits would be guaranteed, that they're going to go above and beyond what's typically mandated in terms of making sure people get their money. And it seemed to be a move to try and make sure there was still confidence in the sector. And from everything you're describing, it sounds like those measures, well, they haven't really done the trick.
Well, I think not only is there a sense that they actually haven't restored confidence, there is criticism coming from the other side on those measures, saying that if you're going to, and we heard this, a version of this back in 2008 when the global financial crisis was on, if you're going to back banks at all costs, if you're going to take those kind of measures, then you produce then you incentivise risky behaviour. You're pushing risky behaviour and increasing the possibility that banks will come back to you down the track and say, sorry, I need help again.
They don't mind saying that.
There's criticism on both sides.
Mm. Yeah, rightly so. Good on you, Tim. Tim Lester from 7 News in the US Bureau there. Did you see that story in The Australian this morning? AUKUS under attack for Frankenstein subplan? Listen to this. This is the type of stuff that eastern states-based defence experts like to talk about. And the reason I read it out is we have to be super vigilant about this as South Australians. Here's the intro. Australia should buy a single fleet of US Virginia-class subs rather than take the high-risk option of having two separate classes of nuclear submarines, according to a former Pentagon and White House official. This guy's name is Zach Cooper. He worked in the Bush administration. He's described the two submarine proposal as, quote, a Frankenstein approach that would dramatically increase the Endeavour's cost and complexity. And he says, this leads to questions about why Australia chose not to field a single fleet of Virginia-class submarines. At the end of the day, I think it would be far simpler to expand the production line and buy 10 Virginia-class subs between now and 2043 than buy a mix of two subs. He conceded that Adelaide, quote, wouldn't be happy with that plan. Wouldn't be happy?
Well, I suppose he's a defence guy. He's not a...
Yeah, but
he's not an industry expert.
But there's a whole bunch of people quoted in this article by Cam Stewart, who's the paper's one of the most senior journos on the paper, who are all lined up going, yeah, Adelaide doesn't make sense. And they
seem to be arguing it's not just Adelaide. The idea of building them here doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but where are they going to be built?
Well, they're saying don't build them. They're saying buy them off the shelf. Just do what we're doing with the first two Virginias and buy 4 more and say job done. We've got a squadron.
Shut down Osborne.
We'll just say, well, there's no need. There's no need for a domestic sub-building capacity. But this is what there's two arguments to counter that. One, if in any way you're sympathetic to the Keating view of this being a way of subverting our sovereignty by saying, oh, we're going to be tied with the US and the UK, what does it do to your sovereignty when your entire defence force is based on acquisitions, foreign acquisitions? What's it done to India with regard to what they can say about Russia when everything they own they have to buy from Russia as an arms dealer? That undermines sovereignty. And the other thing is, it's small-minded thinking. You said this morning you were surprised to hear we're the 14th biggest economy in the world. We're in the G20 of nations. We're a similar-sized economy to Russia. It is a small Australia thinking to go, well, why do we need to build them? We could just buy them. We're not a big country. Well, we actually kind of are. We kind of are. We're talking about doing something that only one of 6 existing countries on Earth do at the moment. It's a small Australia way of thinking to say, well, we don't build. Oh, no, we'll just have to buy them. That'd make much more sense.
Charles texted in saying, hey, Dave, get on the Southern Expressway, 8 a.m. going north. You'll see many, many women speeding, tailgating on their phones. It's not just a male problem. No, Charles, what I'm saying, I reckon, I agree, I use the Southern Expressway all the time. A lot of women speed. They don't do the macho crazy speeding. The people who are 50 Ks over the limit, they're blokes with short on in the trouser department.
Minute to 7, 5AA News is coming up. Peter Dutton in just a moment.
A lot of shopping centres are the same. Same predictable shops, same people. But if you want something new, check out Newton Central with Drake's, Barossa Fine Foods, Seafood Works, Target and many more specialty shops. It's the kind of centre where you can get some retail therapy, do the weekly shop or gather all the fine ingredients you need for an impressive family feast. Want something new in your life? Choose a new local. Choose Newton Central, Gorge Road, Newton.
You want to shut out the wind and rain in winter or the sun, flies and mozzies in summer, but you don't want to sacrifice your view? Then you need Phantom Screens. For protection from sun, wind and rain all year round, Phantom's SA-made outdoor motorised blinds can span up to 12 metres wide. They offer effortless automation, a blind that's there 1 minute and gone the next. From the hills to the coast and everywhere in between, choose Phantom Screens. Get inspired online at phantomscreens.com.au.
Go Vita, your local health food shops. Over 30 years health and wellness experience and over 300 natural health practitioners specialising in you.
Hi, it's Natasha from Fairview Green, and this month at Go Vita we have a great offer on Nutrivital Pain and Inflammation Complete 60 capsules for relief of mild aches and pains. Buy 2 for the price of 1. Always read the label, follow directions for use.
Go Vita, Colonnades, Fairview Green, Marion, Mount Barker, Monopara, Semaphore and Tanunda.
You want your mind to be alert and healthy as you get older, but you also want it working at peak performance today. Frank Caruso's experienced team has developed Caruso's Mega Memory just for you. The herbs in Caruso's Mega Memory improve memory, learning ability and cognitive performance and support brain function and mental concentration. Caruso's Mega Memory is made in Australia and comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Caruso's Mega Memory is available from leading health stores and pharmacies. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Partly cloudy and 25 with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
Paul Keating's attack on the Labor government's being shut down by federal ministers. The former Labor Prime Minister has slammed the party's incompetence in signing up to the AUKUS agreement, which he describes as the worst deal in history. But Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs Tim Watts has told Today the regional and international security landscape has changed since Mr Keating was in government.
The people that I talk to in my job as Australia's Assistant Prime Minister in Australia, in the region, our defence experts, our intelligence experts, counterparts in governments throughout the Indo-Pacific, they understand what we are confronting in our region. They understand that there is an unprecedented military build-up.
There are warnings we could be working more and earning less over the coming decades if economic conditions fail to improve. Productivity Commission data is predicting employees will work 2 extra hours a week but receive 40% less pay. Treasurer Jim Chalmers will deliver a speech on the issue, unveiling reforms to tackle the problem. While it's been revealed millions of Australians used their superannuation money on takeaway, gambling and buying furniture during the COVID pandemic. 2.6 million people drained their super to the tune of $38 billion in total. Construction workers withdrew the most and teachers the least. A learner driver has blown over the limit after crashing his car at Burton this morning. Senior Constable Kate Dawson says he hit trees and a fence on Potts Crescent before ending up in a front yard.
He was breath tested and allegedly returned a positive reading of 0.178. The man was reported for 2 counts of contravening a learner's permit, drink driving and driving without due care, and he lost his licence on the spot for 12 months. His car was towed from the scene and he will be appearing in the Elizabeth Magistrates Court at a later date.
A house has been extensively damaged by a fire at Broadview. The blaze broke out around 2:30 on Collins Street, with part of the roof collapsing. No one was home at the time and the cause is unclear. The early damage bill's been put at around $300,000. The US has accused Russia of a pattern of aggression following the incident involving a Russian aircraft and a spy drone over the Black Sea near Ukraine. More from US correspondent Jonathan Kersley.
US Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin says he has spoken with his Russian counterpart and is adamant the US will continue reconnaissance missions in any international area they are allowed in. The US is still adamant the Russian aircraft clipped its MQ-9 Reaper drone, causing damage, forcing the Americans to down the drone into the Black Sea yesterday. Moscow now says it wants to try and retrieve the drone. The Americans say all sensitive information has been wiped. And as for whether this collision was intentional, the chair of the Joint Chiefs says he's not sure.
The local share market's expected to open lower after a turbulent day for the US share market. Credit Suisse shares dropped 24% on the back of comments from the Saudi National Bank chairman ruling out further cash injections. CommSec chief economist Craig James says news out of Switzerland helped the Dow Jones rally slightly towards the end of trade.
The financial authorities in Switzerland that they'll provide any liquidity support as necessary, and that rescued the Dow Jones from lows. At one point, the Dow Jones was down 726 points in the United States, finished lower by 281 points, still down 0.9%.
And Adelaide Oval will launch its new game day menu today. Footy fans are being told to expect more variety and local produce if heading to the venue on Saturday for Port's season opener. Dozens of new items will be on offer from the stadium's bars and kiosks. Now turning to FIVEAA Sport.
Get 10-year warranty and 10 years capped price servicing on the new Mitsubishi Outlander at Agostino Mitsubishi.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Let's continue with some football. Adelaide coach Matthew Nick says he's been delighted with the leadership new captain Jordan Dawson has shown since taking over the role. Nick's telling Treaders and Timmy G it's been a seamless transition.
We know he's a great leader on field. He's also got two former captains, which is quite rare to have at the footy club, in Rory and Tex, that are almost his wingmen. So he's got a lot of support there. He's open. He knows he doesn't need to change, but he also knows that he's the sort of player that likes to impact games when he's needed, and he's shown that already in a short period of time.
The Crows take on GWS on Sunday. Well, intrigue surrounds how Richmond superstar Dustin Martin will fare, playing predominantly up forward in tonight's season opener against Carlton. Former Giants Jacob Hopper and Tim Taranto come into the Tigers midfield for the first time. Coach Damien Hardwick says Dusty has a licence to roam.
I'm sure where the game is in the cut and thrust and has to be won, there'll be a big number 4 that puts himself in there to probably get it done. So he's got that licence to play that way.
And Blues coach Michael Voss says they're ready for whatever's thrown at them.
We always have some contingencies in place. I think clearly you want to start the way you want to be able to start, and you get the matchups the way that you want them, and then the game will show itself.
It's half hour into Champions League action this morning, and it's 0-0 between Real Madrid and Liverpool. Madrid still leading 5-2 on aggregate. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc has been slapped with a 10-place grid penalty for this weekend's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It's after his team was forced to fit another electronics power unit component. And Australia's bowed out of the World Baseball Classic in the quarterfinals after a 4-3 loss to Cuba. And that's the FIVEAA Sport.
Now checking FIVEAA traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
Good morning at Felixstowe. Got a burst water main, Paynham Road near Barnes Road. Got a slip lane closed there. Busy at the moment, South Road at Theberton. Slow going for works, Elizabeth North, Main North Road near Wommer Road. And got lane out of action at Virginia, Old Port Wakefield Road near Gawler Road, speeds at 40. Cameras today, Target Hill Road, Salisbury Heights, Sand Trimmer Parade at Seaton. Now the OTR app makes happy washing your car even easier. Select and pay with the OTR app. Scan, wash, go. Happy wash, happy car at OTR. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on FIVEAA.
To the weather, partly cloudy, heading for 25. Friday, cloud clearing, 31. Partly cloudy for Saturday, 29 and 25 for Sunday. At the moment, 17. More news as it happens on FIVEAA.
What if your next holiday was always parked just outside the front door? Dave Benson Caravans sell your next holiday, and unlike an expensive overseas holiday, your dollar remains as an asset, your caravan. With over 120 new or used caravans and campers on display under one roof, the DBC Caravan Professionals can tailor your next family holiday to your lifestyle and needs. Your Australian journey awaits and begins at Dave Benson Caravans, 64 Grand Junction Road, Kilburn.
FIVEAA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to FIVEAA Facebook or search FIVEAA on YouTube. David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is FIVEAA Breakfast.
8 minutes after 7. We'll take you through our usual wrap of the big stories of the morning in a few moments' time, because first, I want to welcome the opposition leader, Peter Dutton, to the program, who is in Adelaide today. Leader, good morning to you.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
We're going to start, if we can, Peter Dutton, by asking you for your thoughts about what was a pretty turbocharged spray aimed at almost everybody yesterday by our former Prime Minister, Paul Keating. What did you make of it?
How did you miss out, Pembo? You should have been there asking questions.
I'm glad I wasn't there.
That was a fair whack as well.
I would have hidden under my chair.
It was vintage Keating. He didn't hold back on elbow, but look, I don't know. I mean, how do you live with that bitterness after all these years? It's a bit sad, but I think, as Richard Marles and others have pointed out, circumstances have changed dramatically since 1996, and it's been a long time since Paul Keating's had some of those briefings. Although he's very close to Richard Marles and Jim Chalmers and others. I think Jim Chalmers did his doctorate on Paul Keating, so he's still a fair influence. And there must be some pretty robust conversations in private if that's what he has to say publicly.
So what's the substance of the briefings that he's missed out on there? Because the thrust of what he was getting at yesterday seemed to be that this is a defence policy procurement program that is a response to a non-existent threat.
Well, I think he's always had a particular view about the United States and always had a hang-up about that. And to be fair, there's a fair element within the Labor Party that would be opposed to this deal because of the nuclear propulsion system. They've just got an ideological hang-up about it. The fact is that the technology now around nuclear, you see what Canada's using in their energy system, you see what France is using, et cetera, it's a very different period, and there's still that hang-up in the Labor Party, and I think Paul Keating represents that. Don't forget, not that many years ago, 2004, 2005, I guess, you had Mark Latham talking about breaking the alliance with the United States. So philosophically, there's a difficulty there, and
he called them from memory, didn't he call you guys the coalition a conga line of suckholes for supporting America?
I think that's a perfect quote, actually. Remember, you got it right. So he had a lot of things to say otherwise, but I think Paul Keating's always had a very close relationship with China as well, and he's no doubt influenced by that. I think he noted yesterday that he's not receiving payment from some gig he had with one of the China banks or something at some point. So he's a complex character, but and he doesn't hold back. But he'd be sitting back, mate, this morning with the clock ticking away in the background, seeing his name on the front page of the newspapers, sipping away on a cup of sour milk, and he'd be lapping it up.
How do you position the budget going into the future to account for an expenditure that might be in the order of nearly $400 billion? Do we simply have to get accustomed to living with more debt to take on the submarine build, or would you like to see some savings measures announced in concert with this?
Well, so I guess we'll get a sense of the government's plan in the May budget. They're trying to make out at the moment that this is a cost-neutral program, but it just doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of money that needs to be spent. There are already programs in defence where they're obviously committed to, over the next decade or so, providing those new programs, including shipbuilding in South Australia and elsewhere in WA, for example. There's a lot of commitment that's required in many of the social areas. Everyone wants to see a just society and the rest of it, but the government's only got three choices. They can increase debt, they can cut back on spending elsewhere, or they increase taxes. There's no magic pudding here, and they'll have to be honest about how they can pay for all of that. And I think one of the points is if they're going to cannibalise defence, which is what they did when they were last in government, then that just runs down the capacity that we've got in Army or Air Force or Navy otherwise, and that shouldn't be the plan.
Peter Dutton, I reckon the number one issue, as jubilant as we've been this week in South Australia about the prospect of this hopefully long sort of pipeline of defence jobs coming about because of Osborne, the number one cost of living issue, I think, for our listeners right now is this pending whack in terms of power bills, 20%. What do you think can be done to try to drive these costs down? Because I know it's really belting our listeners around.
Well, Pepper, I just think we've got to have an honest conversation at some point, because I just don't think the government gets how much families are hurting at the moment. And if you're on a fixed income, if you're a pensioner or a part pensioner, if you're somebody who can't do extra hours of overtime at work, or you've got a cafe and you just can't cut costs anywhere any further, and you've got rising input costs, there's going to be a crunch, and the interest rates going up probably more than they have to, just given some of the decisions the government's made, which are inflationary, and means interest rates are higher than they always need to be. And I mean, Labor just can't manage money. That's always been the history, and it's being played out right now in some of the policy decisions they're making. You can't turn the old system off until the new system is ready. And everyone wants to see renewables in the system. That's a given, but you have to firm them up, because the battery technology is not developed sufficiently that it can last any more than half an hour or 45 minutes, and it costs a lot of money. And that's the difficulty that the government's got us into at the moment. They're talking about rolling out 28,000 kilometres of poles and wires to the distribution network. I mean, that maybe, on some estimates, north of $100 billion. Now, that is all going to be passed on to consumers. And the government's out there saying, I'll just be grateful that it wasn't 50%. It's only, 20 or in Victoria, rising by 31%. Oh, that's a hell of a whack on a family budget.
So what can the federal government do going forward then, given the decisions that have already been made? So some of the things that have been turned off can't be switched back on. And the energy regulator made the point in their statement yesterday that the largest driver of increases in the default market offer is the cost of generating electricity. So given the predicament that we currently find ourselves in, and presuming that you're not a fan of the sort of market intervention that the federal government championed when it came to gas, what role do you see a federal government playing in trying to get this under control going forward?
Well, firstly, I think there needs to be more gas into the system, because if they don't like coal and they want to turn off coal-fired generation, the question is what replaces it? And the code there in the language that you just quoted is that that's about renewable energy and the cost of injecting that into the system. And we can't even have a debate, it seems, in our country about the small modular reactor, the latest technology in nuclear energy, and that is zero emissions. It's a much cheaper way to deliver electricity, as is demonstrated in Canada and France and in many other countries around the world. So, the government's now committed to a program where they're going to have to dispose of nuclear waste and do that safely. So, I just think there are, some conversations that we've got to be mature enough to have, because if we want serious reductions in our emissions, which of course we do, and if you want a credible pathway to achieving that, you've got to embrace the technology that works and understand that, maybe the battery is in the process of development and to be produced next year, that it can last a week or 2 weeks if it's raining, or you've got inclement weather and the solar panels aren't working, but that technology is not there at the moment. So I just think consumers are paying that price for the ideology that the government's got underway. And that's a decision that the government's taken at a federal level that has made it harder for families. And so, I think there are some things you can do in the near term and other things that are going to take longer to have a positive impact.
Yeah, we've certainly seen the policy effects of that up close here in SA. Peter Dutton, the federal leader of the opposition, thanks very much for joining us this morning on 5AA.
Thanks, gents. Thank you.
17 minutes after 7. Let us know what you think, folks. 8223 You can text us on the Dutton's text line, 044808 1395.
That's what Wendy's done. David and Will, former politicians, should not be giving such strident criticisms. Paul Keating is a China apologist, nothing more. God save me from these overblown maniacs. That's from Wendy, and she ends on a happy note. I'm off to my granddaughter's wedding today.
Oh,
very excited. Congratulations to your granddaughter. Wendy, have a lovely day.
Weather will be actually pretty nice today, I think.
Perfect.
For a wedding. It's on top of 25. Oh, magnificent wedding weather. Let's check traffic and come back with some more in just a moment.
Thanks, Will. At Edinburgh, got a smash on Edinburgh Road near Sturton Road. Wingfield, 2 breakdowns on the north-south motorway causing delays. They're near Grand Junction Road, causing a few hiccups on the drive in. Felixstowe, Burst-Water Lane, Payneham Road near Barnes Road, and getting busy South Road at Thepperton. Cameras this morning, Goddard Drive, Salisbury Park, and Sturton Road at Edinburgh. The King Anniversary Sale ends Sunday. Save on selected Australian design award-winning furniture. Sale ends Sunday. Visit the King Keswick showroom today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA Mornings with Matthew Pantelis.
Don't you love politicians in the news like Chris Bowen, the Federal Energy Minister? Power prices going up here in SA by around 23% or so. He says, well, it could have been worse. Thanks, Chris. Yes, could have been worse.
Weekday mornings from 9.
Tell you what, those promised tax cuts that have been legislated already, they are going to be so vital, helping us move forward into the future.
On 1395. Adelaide's 5AA.
Bob Burns Blinds is feeling moreish. For a limited time only, the more curtains and blinds you buy, the more discount you receive at Bob Burns Blinds. The more, the merrier. With quick installation, high quality materials, an extensive product range and first-rate service, now's the time to create those stunning indoor and outdoor living spaces that you've always wanted. Buy more, save more. Book your free measure and quote today at bobburnsblinds.com.au. Conditions apply.
Hope starts with you. Are you the one CMAX is looking for? If you're aged 18 to 55 and healthy, you may be eligible for a CMAX trial for a potential treatment for stroke. All eligible participants will stay at the CMAX facility, enjoy free Wi-Fi and meals, as well as get paid for their time. Check your eligibility and apply today on cmax.com.au. That's cmax.com.au.
You can always expect the very best from Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of designer appliances. Right now, save up to $1,000 on ASCO cooking. Save up to $300 on all ASCO laundry and up to $1,000 off ASCO dishwashers. We can also arrange delivery, installation and removal of your old appliance and supply 6 months of our Power of 4 cleaning detergent. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of designer appliances. Paynham Road, St Peters. T's and C's apply.
When was the last time you serviced your life jacket? Do you know which life jacket's right for you and your family? Remember to always check your life jacket for wear and tear. Self-inflatable life jackets should be serviced yearly. Check the manufacturer's instructions. Head to marinesafety.sa.gov.au for tips on servicing your life jacket and use the Life Jacket Checker tool to know which one's right for you. Wear a life jacket. It can save your life. A message from the Government of South Australia.
Hello, I'm Andrea Lewis, Head of Animal Welfare for RSPCA South Australia. A lot can change in a generation, but SA's Animal Welfare Act mostly hasn't. You'd be shocked at what's missing, and we legally can't intervene until cruelty has already happened. Without better laws, our RSPCA officers can't help till it's too late. But right now, the state government are listening. So help us give animals a voice to change the law and save animals before March 26. Visit rspcasa.org.au to learn how.
I love tinkering with my car, which is why I also love eBay. Plus, if the part doesn't fit, eBay's got my back with their money-back guarantee. So I can browse, buy, carefree with eBay's money-back guarantee.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
22 minutes after 7. Referenced in our chat with Peter Dutton a moment ago. Paul Keating's extraordinary press club appearance yesterday. I mean, I think we may have even said on the program as a joke yesterday, we can only imagine what Paul Keating thinks of this whole AUKUS thing. I mean, it was predictable what his position would be. Less predictable was the way he would come at the journalists. Here's a supercut of some of Keating's best work at the press club yesterday.
At the Kabuki show in San Diego a day or so ago, there's 3 leaders standing there. Only one is paying our bloke, Albo. The other 2, they've got the band playing, happy days, I hear again. The American president can hardly put 3 coherent sentences together. The only way the Chinese could threaten Australia or attack it is on land. That is, they bring an armada of troop ships with a massive army to occupy us. This is not possible for the Chinese to do. And they'd need to come 13 days of steaming, 8,000 kilometres between Beijing or Shanghai and Brisbane, say, in which case we would just sink them all. For $360 billion, we're going to get 8 submarines. It must be the worst deal in all history. If we were buying Collins-class replacements, we'd get at least 40 to 50 of those submarines. 40 to 50 for the same price. No Navy's ever done better than having 1/3 of their boats at sea at any one time. We'd have, a third of them, 15, say, at sea. 15 at sea, against 3 nuclear boats. 15 against 3. Now remember, the nuclear boat's only firing a traditional torpedo. It's not firing a nuclear torpedo, just like the other boats. And because it's 8,000 tonnes, that's big, they'll be discoverable from space. And what's more, they are too big for the shallow waters of Australian coast. A 4,000-tonne boat like the Collins worked perfectly around the Australian coast because it was designed to protect Australia. It wasn't designed to sit off the Chinese coast sinking Chinese submarines.
Whether you agree with his assertions or not, he remains a compelling communicator, Paul Keating.
Having said that,
he has
though,
cut through.
Watching it yesterday, to me, it was like seeing an old rock band that you've always loved and realising that they're actually not that good. I think the great sort of logical and moral flaw in his critique of us as forelock tuggers to the Yanks and sort of hog-tied to Mother Britain is that the guy is a fawning excuse maker for Beijing. In his speech yesterday, he was utterly ambivalent about the prospect of China invading Taiwan. He said it's only been a democracy since...
No, so-called democracy.
So-called democracy.
Mm.
He was totally dismissive of China's human rights record towards the Uyghurs and compared it to Aboriginal Australians. And we were chatting before, Will, about the great piece that James Morrow, who we're not always necessarily a massive fan of here, but he made some great points. Are they having a debate in China right now about whether there's going to be a Uyghur voice to Parliament?
Yeah, wouldn't it? To the Politburo?
Are journalists allowed to ask questions and write articles about human rights? Is there a Four Corners report every second week in China about the treatment of the Uyghurs, the way there is about Indigenous communities that are failing here in Australia? But, you know, the relationships with countries need to be based on shared values and shared history. Now, for me, apart from September 11, the defining moment in my life was when I was at uni, watching in real time what happened in Tiananmen Square in 1989. Like, has the bloke got amnesia? This country used tanks to crush people to death because they were protesting in favour of democracy. Thousands of people were killed in plain sight. So if you want to hitch your wagon to that lot, it says a bit about the way your brain's wired, frankly. And as entertaining as he is, he's lost his mind.
27 minutes after 7, let's turn our attention to sport. There was a big development yesterday in a story that we've been following in terms of how it's played out in Victoria, a class action lawsuit against the AFL with regard to how they manage concussions and the ongoing effects of concussions from former players. Well, a similar lawsuit has been launched here in South Australia with Greg Griffin behind it. He was on the sports show with Rowie and Timmy G last night.
I've been working this for 7 or 8 years.
Wow, 7 or 8 years.
Peter, Jess and I started this project 7 or 8 years ago, and in that time we have spent countless hours and spoken to countless footballers, looked at countless medical reports, and over the last 2 or 3 years we obviously started the proceedings for Ty Zantuck in the Melbourne Supreme Court. Obviously, I acted for the widow of Shane Cat Tuck in the coronial investigation. We then, to this position, which is the class action, which is going to involve a range of household names.
It's going to be significant. It's going to be big. There's some elements of this I'm really interesting to see how they get teased out. Primarily, to what extent is a workplace liable to take care of your well-being when something was going on there that they couldn't possibly have had knowledge about? And whether... Is there any evidence to suggest the AFL's ever done anything but heed the most recent medical advice? Because I think sometimes we get this story entangled with what happened in the US, where the NFL had been repeatedly warned about concussions and went, oh yeah, but okay, whatever. They'd whatevered the medical establishment for a long time. And that kicked it into another realm. I'm really interested to see in these cases if there's any evidence of that happening.
Well, in the 1970s when they were, or 80s when they were producing VHS tapes with names like, you know, the biggest hits of Aussie Rules, the medical science on it was nowhere near as advanced as it is now. And when you hear Dermy joking about Mark Yates knocking him out in the 89 grand final and bleeding.
Well, there were doctors there, weren't they? And they were saying, hey, stay mum.
Yeah, well, in that game there were. But I think you're right. I think the AFL has tried to respond in real time.
Well, if there is an allegation that they've somehow, you know, yada-yada'd the medical establishment, I haven't heard it yet. I mean, that's one thing I'll be fascinated to see if that gets teased out in court.
So the legal
that,
point is, how can you test what happened in 1983 against what is now known scientifically.
Absolutely. Yeah, there'll be a lot of really interesting elements that will come out of this. 29 minutes after 7, 5AA News is coming up. A little bit of a change to the batting order this morning. Arazio Fantasia is going to join us in just a moment. Matt Abraham coming up after 8 o'clock.
Shane here from Adelaide Exposed Concrete. Our first radio ad campaign, straight off the bat, I think the team here killed it with a great commercial, and we got recognised straight away, which lifted our branding. My advice to people is to do it. It does work. It just takes a little bit of time, and you've got to be willing to understand that not everything happens straight away. But once it starts to work, it's a fantastic experience. To hear people say, I heard your ad on the radio. I heard you on the radio today. Oh, your ad's so funny. Oh, you guys are terrific. You know, all these great comments that our company gets is really based off the ads that we've put out in 5AA over the last 6 to 12 months.
To get your message out there and grow your business, visit 5AA.com.au and hit the Advertise With Us link.
It isn't waste until you waste it. That's the catch cry from an amazing company called Eco Waste Solutions. Eco Waste Solutions is a hard waste recycling facility, not a dump, located at Williston. They'll take everything except hazardous waste and food scraps. They'll take your waste bricks, your mattresses, tyres, soil, timber, steel, concrete and more. Plus, if you pre-sort your load, you'll receive a 50% discount on disposal fees. Google Eco Waste Solutions Williston for more.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Partly cloudy and 25 with the 7:30 news. I'm Kendall Brotig.
Gliderroll Garage Doors new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderroll.com.au.
Australians will work more and earn 40% less unless productivity improves. Michael Packey explains.
Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers will use a key speech to warn greater reform is needed to boost the skill level of the nation's workforce. It's part of a 1,000-page report into the economic challenges facing the country. It shows productivity has stalled over the last decade and now sits at a 60-year low. Without change, the Productivity Commission warns incomes will drop 40% and the working week will be 5% longer. The Commission has made 71 recommendations to improve the situation with greater emphasis on technology.
Fiji's Prime Minister has indicated early support for the AUKUS deal. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese sat down with his Fijian counterpart on his way back from the US to discuss this week's announcement. While he and other federal government ministers are brushing off Paul Keating's attack on the deal. The former Labor Prime Minister has described the nuclear submarine agreement as the worst deal in history and has also criticised the Foreign Minister's approach to improving Pacific relations. A learner driver crashed into trees and a fence at Burton this morning before testing positive to alcohol. The 22-year-old Burton man lost control as he turned into Potts Crescent. He blew .178 when he should have been 0. He's been reported for contravening a learner's permit, drink driving and driving without due care, and has lost his licence for 12 months. His car was towed from the scene. A house has gone up in flames at Broadview. It broke out around 2:30 in Collins Street. Crystal Mitchell from the MFS says no one was home at the time.
There is extensive damage and roof collapse, and damage is estimated at $300,000. Cause is currently undetermined, and fire investigators will be attending this morning.
A study completed by Australian and US researchers has revealed exactly how the early release of Super Scheme was used during the COVID pandemic. The research shows on average those who used the scheme cut their super balance by 51%. And as for what it was spent on, the data shows gambling was top of the list along with paying off debt. Australia's leading crisis support and suicide prevention organisation is marking 60 years of operation. Lifeline chairman turned patron John Brogden says in the past 6 decades, the organisation's had to reshape and evolve through difficult times. But he says nothing's been as tough as COVID.
We've had nothing like COVID in the last 60 years. There's been nothing as significant as COVID that has changed people's mental health and made them more worried, more insecure, and that was a massive change.
And the Adelaide Festival will present one of its headliners at the Entertainment Centre tonight. Lorde will perform as part of her national tour. It'll be the singer-songwriter's first show in SA in almost a decade. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Ray.
Thank you, Kendall. The AFL season will officially get underway tonight with Richmond and Carlton to kick things off in front of a packed MCG crowd. Port will tackle Brisbane on Saturday in a twilight match at home, while the Crows will come up against GWS at Giants Stadium on Sunday. Coach Matthew Nicks has close to a full-strength squad to choose from for Adelaide, but he's told Treaders and Timmy G there are a few who won't be available.
I mean, Josh Worrell had a little setback with his hammy. Matty Crouch has a small fracture. It's probably a couple of weeks for Matty. So we also had a little bit of an issue with Jackson Haitley, a tiny hammy nick during a training session.
Well, meantime, there's reports of tensions at Essendon following a restructure. Both list manager Adrian Dodoro and coach Brad Scott will now report to new Chief Executive Craig Vozzo instead of football boss Josh Marnie. Commentator Matthew Richardson telling Wide World of Sports the last thing the Bombers need is instability.
I don't think you can have any part of your program that's not in line with the other part, because you just can't be successful. And I think if you look at the recent success of all of the good clubs, they're all in line. There's no factions.
Let's go to cricket. South Australia's got plenty of work to do in its Shield clash against New South Wales, with the Redbacks to resume at 3 for 134, still trailing the Blues' first innings total by 313 runs. The Sydney Kings are again NBL champions after coming from behind to take out the deciding Game 5, 77-69 against the New Zealand Breakers. And Liverpool has it all to do in the second half of its European Champions League match against Real Madrid. It's 0-0, but Madrid holds a 5-2 lead on aggregate. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
At Felixstowe, look out for a burst water main this morning, Paynham Road near Barnes Road. Wingfield, a couple of breakdowns on the north-south motorway. They're both near Green Junction Road, causing a few delays and headaches as you're coming inbound. Findon, look out for a smash. Findon Road near Trimmer Parade. Busy at the moment, South Road at Theberton with cameras Heasley Road, Angle Vale, and Ridley Grove at Furton Park. The Audi sale event is coming. Take advantage of a generous offer on top of 5 years scheduled servicing on selected Audi models. Starts Friday. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
To the weather, partly cloudy and 25. Cloud clearing tomorrow, 31. Partly cloudy Saturday, 29 and 25 for Sunday. At the moment, 18. More news as it happens on 5AA.
As the K's tick over in your car, it's good to know Toyota will help make sure it never misses a beat. Year after year, K after K after K. With Toyota Genuine Service, the feeling never fades. Oh, what a feeling, Toyota.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
22 minutes to 8. John Blake is coming up in just a few moments' time. Then after 8 o'clock today, we have got plenty for you, including Matt Abraham and indeed our Channel 7 host, David Koch, who I'm sure is tuned in right now to have a listen to our next guest.
Arazio Fantasia, intercepted almost by Arazio Fantasia. Arazio Fantasia, Arazio Fantasia, Arazio Fantasia, Arazio.
Oh, now it feels like footy season.
Haven't heard that for a while.
Arazio Fantasia in the 5AA Breakfast studio with us, thanks to Foodland Supermarkets. You can in fact watch along on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream. You'll see Arazio in here with us, fighting fit, raring to go. All good news on the Arazio front, it sounds like, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and footy's back tonight. I can't wait to just really piss off my mum and my partner and footy on and all week, and they can't say a thing.
One of my friends has got a plaque in their living room that says, "We interrupt this marriage to bring you the football season." Have you ever seen that?
Perfect. That is, I need that plaque.
Mate, but seriously, last year, often we loved having you in, and not just because, you know, you're coming with the cannolis and the cafe latte and all that for us, but, you know, it was hard seeing how close you got, and then, you know, what was it, 2 SANFL games you played?
Yep. I did my quad both times in those games, and I sat on the bench as a sub for one AFL game.
So hopefully all that's well and truly in the past.
I think so, yeah. My body's feeling really, really good. I've done all of the pre-season, which is nice, first time in a very long time. So to be able to change a few things and just make sure it was right with the high performance and the weights coach and a bit more Pilates, you know, ask Boki, he's, you know, the longevity king and doesn't stop. So, you know, to get some picky brain a little bit and get some ideas of what to put in my programs really helped me.
What sort of tips did he give you?
The Pilates was a big one. You know, he's really keen on that and does that regularly, so that was huge for me. But also just understanding that you don't need to do every single session. And I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but like for me, I want to do everything and a little bit more. So to just pull it back, and you don't need to be 100 miles an hour every session. So I really sort of bookend my week a little bit, and I did a big session on a Monday and a really big session on a Friday, and on a Wednesday I would just run. And I was still more than fit enough and able to play and do my job. So it's worked really well.
You probably won't want to hear this, but did you imagine that there might be a scenario this year where even game to game it plays out like that, whereby you might, God willing, be fit for 23, 24, how many of the weeks the season goes for Port, but you go, you know what, once a month I might just go and do a bit of load management, as they say. Can you foresee a situation like that playing out, or are you going to set yourself to play every single game?
Yeah, I mean, I want to play every single game. I haven't played for a fair while, so, you know, unless the high performance tapped me on the shoulder and said, look, you're just flagging a little bit, like maybe, I'd still probably, you know...
You'd still argue?
Yeah, I'd be crying and screaming and, you know, I still want to play, but I know they've got, you know, my best interest at heart.
What's the conversation like internally at Port Arazio? Because externally, you know, a lot of the fans and expectations are always high, and there's the sense that, you know, made prelims, lost prelims, anything less than a top 4 finish is unacceptable. Do you guys put yourself under that level of pressure internally as well?
Definitely not that level of, you know, scrutiny on ourselves, but we just want to be consistent to our game plan and making sure we're playing the same way every week. And you know, we had a good chat after our pre-season games, and like we were a little bit frustrated and disappointed in ourselves how we played in both those games, because our pre-season had been awesome and we, you know, adjusted our game plan, and then when we got into the games, we probably just fell into old habits a little bit. So it was just more about, okay, let's actually just get back to how we want to play. And if we do that, you know, we're hopefully going to win more games than not, and the results will take care of themselves.
Was it a good experiment going over and playing the 2 games in WA?
Yeah.
For the squad?
I think so. More so also for that connection piece is huge. You know, you're away for 9 days with your teammates. You're having fun. You're going for coffee in the morning and seeing something new, and then you're just always around. So afterwards, you know, we had a poker tournament, which was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like,
who's the best poker player?
Jeez, there's a few good ones. Trent McKenzie would say he's the best, but Jason Horn-Francis was very sly with the cards. So no, it was really good. Just
anyone horrible? Anyone you could just see bluffing a mile away?
No, there's a few that like to bluff, but it was just, yeah, for that sort of connection stuff, like it's really, really good.
So when you envisage yourself out there, who are you looking forward to playing with? Is it I mean, there's all these guys you're looking forward to, but is anyone you sort of go, I can see this being dynamic? For example, I see you and Junior Rowell in the forward line, and that just feels like a highlight waiting to happen. But Jason Horn-Francis, we've seen have some moments as well. Anyone you're really looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, obviously I just hopefully can't wait to play with everyone, but I mean, this pre-season training high forward with, you know, Pep and Junior and Mitch and Jed McEntee and Francis Evans, you know, then we get a forward sort of coming down there, whether it is Jason or Connor or Butsy, like it's pretty exciting. And you got Charlie and Todd and Mitch, like Jeremy back as well. Like we're fully healthy. Like this pre-season has been actually awesome to just be back and training with everyone. Junior, the stuff you did mention Junior, but the stuff he does is like incredible. He's just got some skill that no one else has. He can kick it from anywhere and sort of see you at the corner of his eye. So yeah, I can't wait to play with.
And this is the first time you guys have played home opener for a few years. You've always been on the road, haven't you?
Yeah, you guys have bloody hogged it the whole time.
I know. Well, last year it was on the road. This is the home return version of last year's Port Brisbane game, which was the night Timmy G lost his mind in this very seat. He was holding a water bottle during the commentary, and he threw it against that wall, and it ricocheted And Tom Wren was sitting where you're sitting now, mate. Hit him in the head.
Got him
in the final quarter
because we had injuries.
When you dropped your bundle.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we were all frustrated after that one.
It's almost becoming a grudge match, Port Brisbane.
Yeah, well, they're such a good and strong team. You know, it's such a good
plenty of
battle
history
against
there.
them.
04.
Yeah, yep. So hopefully we can get them done. It'd be nice.
We always like having you in as well because you are a footy nut. You mentioned the fact that you'll be watching tonight, watching tomorrow night. The family just have to find something else to do with their time for the next 6 months. Who have you got your eye on? Who looks good? What changes that happen in the off season have you got you thinking? Is it the new look Richmond midfield? Is it Is it Brisbane with Dunkley and Jack Gunston coming in that you're going to be up against this week? Who do you look at and go, ooh, they're going to be right around
those
the
two
end.
Definitely. I want to see Collingwood again. I think really excited to see how they'll go again. They're a good team and added some more players like Mitchell in there. But I was most surprised by Freo's when we played them. I was like, wow, they were really, really strong and really well structured and sort of took away how we wanted to play. So they were a really good team as well. I'm excited for Vossi too. He's obviously at the club and worked with us and had a really good connection with him. So hopefully they go well, but not too well.
What's on the menu Friday night, mate? Is your nonna cooking you anything special? You got a bit of ravioli or?
No, I'll cook up Friday night.
You do it yourself?
Yeah, I get
Something
the hands
Italian?
dirty. Yeah, I think I've been going a little chicken pesto pasta, which is
nice.
it's sort of my favourite at the moment. So I'll probably run with that
Do
one.
you do the pesto from scratch, or do you cheat?
I cheat and make Mum do it. Yeah.
Well, she's probably got a special touch, I'd say. So
Yeah, she loves doing it.
Sensible. All the best of luck, mate.
Well, we cannot wait next week, hopefully, to be talking to you about your first game of the season, first of however many you ultimately play in a row.
Coming in next week, and we can talk about each of the 4 goals you kicked.
I'd love to talk about that. That'd be good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
All
it.
right, let's make that. If you kick 4, we'll have the audio and we'll break down every single one with you. All right,
totally.
All right, we'll go.
Now you put the pressure on me. I've got to play first.
We've never jinxed anything.
Yeah, well, crikey.
Hey, great to have you back in. We've got a lovely text on the Duttons text line for someone saying screams and cheers of excitement in the household this morning, hearing the Arazio jingle again. Finally, feels like the official start of footy season. Good on you, Arazio. All the best, mate.
Thanks, mate.
All right, let's check traffic and come back in a few moments' time.
At Findon, got a smash on Findon Road near Trimmer Parade. Edinburgh, smash on Edinburgh Road near Sturton Road, while at Wingfield, got 2 breakdowns on the north-south motorway, then near Grand Junction Road, solid delays inbound. Felixstowe, burst water mode at the moment, Paynham Road near Barnes Road, busy South Road at Theberton, with a camera at Grey Terrace at Rosewater. Power Pass members, don't miss your chance to snag a Matador barbecue when you pay with the Bunnings Trade Power Pass app in store. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Need a forklift? Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Toyota is the world's #1 forklift brand with a great range of pallet jacks, walkie stackers and reach forklifts right up to their leading Toyota counterbalance forklifts. Legendary reliability and safety with cleaner, greener electric options, Toyota can tailor the right forklift solution for you. It's all part of the Toyota Forklift Advantage. For more, visit toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get a Toyota forklift.
Hello, I'm Lynn Andrews. At Lynn Andrews Real Estate, we've seen a lot of change in the property market over the last 50 years, but one thing remains constant: our passion to help people invest in the future, to build strong property portfolios in commercial and residential real estate. Our commitment to property investment over the years means we have a wealth of knowledge to share with you. We are here to help. Visit lynnandrews.com.
Speak with One Solution and they'll tell you cybercrime is not a big business problem, a government problem, or a small enterprise problem. It's everyone's problem. Ransomware, malware, and adware remain the #1 threat. One call to One Solution will put your business in a safe place. It's the smartest, most cost-effective business decision you'll ever make. Get in touch with One Solution, winner of the National Telstra Customer Experience Award. onesolution.net.au.
If you need to fix your pipes, call Precise. Call Precise. If your toilet's boiling up, call Precise. Call Precise. If your lights aren't turning on, or your hot water is gone, or a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Precise.
Precise Plumbing and Electrical. Call 1300 700 200. That's 1300 700 200. For fixed price services, call Precise.
For a plumber or electrician, call Precise. Call Precise.
When you die, who gets what? Will your kids or relatives argue over your estate? Will your beneficiaries be protected? Will your estate be tax effective? Will your wishes be respected and carried out? Speak with Donlan Lawyers now for peace of mind. Donlan Lawyers for wills and estate planning. Visit donlanlawyers.com. That's donlanlawyers.com.
G'day, it's Eddie May here from NRG Solar. People buy a solar system to save money and do the right thing by the environment. So why would you buy a battery? Well, people buy a battery because they want independence from the grid. They don't want to be inconvenienced in the event of a blackout, and of course, protect themselves from future power rises. Now, electricity is going up, so whatever your needs are regarding solar and battery storage, you can rely on NRG Solar for the right solution. Visit nrgsolar.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
10 to 8. Lots of good Dutton's texts coming through. Thanks to Dutton's. 3 dealerships, 10 franchises in the Adelaide Hills and Murray Bridge. Dutton's, easy to do business with.
Yes, one here from Mark. Sorry, I was my mind was wandering. Mark from Highbury. From Mark, here we go. From Mark, I'm building my AFL Supercoach and AFL Fantasy team, and I think I might put Arazio in there, and I'm a Crows supporter. Good on you, Mark.
He's just likeable, Arazio, isn't he?
He's just a stand-up bloke.
Yeah.
I met his mum last year at a Sturt game.
Did you
At
really?
Unleash. She came over and said g'day. It was Sturt Nord.
So the
Moleskin Derby.
Nord fans coming over in the Sturt area, that would have been.
Well, there's like a sort of mutual respect between Sturt and Nord fans. You know, we shop at the same stores like Rod and Gun, Country Road, R.M. Williams.
In case you're wondering, you were hoping to hear from Matt Abraham. Don't worry, you still will. As he said on Twitter a short time ago, heads up to his dozens of fans. He's on at 8:05 this morning, so he will be coming up in a moment. Let's give it over to John Blake. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast on 13 13 64.
Yes, Steph?
Good morning, Premier. Tom Goodson-Tonus is here to see you.
Okay, send him in.
Will do. You can go in.
Come in, Tom.
Hello, Peter! Peter!
Tom, how's it going?
Oh, look at you all full of yourself and glowing in the dark from too much nuclear radiation.
Have to make it snappy, Tom. I'm getting ready to go.
You're off to the UK?
Yep.
Well, that's why I came to see you, Premier.
What's up?
Well, you're going over there because you want to learn how to build nuclear submarines.
Yeah, well, I'm...
And that's fine, but what worries me is...
Yeah?
If you're going to be speaking to important people in the nuclear submarine industry...
Yeah?
You'll need to pronounce it properly.
So I'm getting pronunciation advice from...
This is very important, Premier Peter. You've been saying nuclear, and so has Chris Bowen, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah, nuclear submarines, that's what I'm going over...
It's not nuclear, Premier Peter. It's nuclear.
Yeah, nuclear.
No, nuclear.
It sounds exactly like I'm saying what you're saying, nuclear.
Nuclear, and frankly, Premier, if I can say it properly, then you certainly should be able to...
I don't need this on the eve of my leaving to go to the UK.
Well, I got here just in time because really, if you can't pronounce it, how can you possibly hope to build it?
Nuclear.
Nuclear. Think of it, Premier, as a cleaning product for your bathroom.
What?
Which makes it look new and clear from dirt and soap scum. It's called Nuclear. Nuclear.
Nuclear.
That's it. Nuclear.
Nuclear. Yeah, I've got it now. Nuclear. Okay, good.
Nuclear.
Nuclear.
Why are you going to the UK, Premier Peter?
To learn how to build nuclear submarines.
Oh, God, this better be the last time people take the mickey out of me for speaking funny.
Thanks, Tom.
No wonder the Labor Party's been dead against nuclear all this time.
Yeah.
We're too embarrassed to say it.
Nuclear.
Wrong.
I tell you what, with respect to the position in the office, our Prime Minister is a big nuclear guy.
Yeah, he struggles with it, doesn't he?
He's a real nuclear.
George W. Bush had a real problem with it too. Didn't he say nuclear? He said quite a few things. George W. Bush.
He did.
Remember when he finished? Was it Dave Letterman did the?
It was the top 10, wasn't it?
Yeah. It just went on and on and on and on.
Nuclear. John Blake, one of his absolute favourites. Let's have a look at this. This is remarkable. If I was to play this, what does it make you think of?
Like sand through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Well, it makes me think of the days of our lives.
It does.
Is it the longest running soap in world history?
It's about to run for a bit longer. It's been renewed for 2 more seasons on Peacock, the streaming service, after it wrapped up on NBC in 2022. 2 more years will take it to what landmark? How many years will it have been on air?
I'm guessing it started in 1965.
You are correct. It will be the 60th. It'll make it to its 60th season.
So it started in 1965.
It started in 1965. You're absolutely
How many
correct.
of our listeners have been watching it from the get-go?
How many series do you think you've watched? If you've been,
I've never watched a single second of it. I could not tell you the first thing about who's in it, which city it's set in.
I don't know if that's ever been made clear. Is it? Coronation Street apparently beats it for longevity. That started in 1960.
Corrie.
Days of Our Lives started the phenomenon, I suspect, dating back to 60, given it started in 65, of people saying, I don't watch that crap, whilst always watching that crap. My grandmother was a master of this. She would always have Days of Our Lives on. You'd walk into her house and she'd go, I don't know why that rubbish is on. I don't know. She lived alone, by the way. Well, there's no one else putting the TV on. But every time you'd see her, she'd go, I don't know who's put that rubbish on.
There's a great term in Australian vernacular where you say, this has gone on longer than Blue Hills. Blue Hills is the benchmark, which was the radio
Australia.
play. I don't know how long Blue Hills went for.
Set in the fictional town of Salem, we're being told by Lucy.
Isn't that where the witch
Days of Our
trials
Lives.
happened?
I think that would have
Salem. So is Salem Massachusetts?
Not sure.
It's a New England state. Thinking back to... what's that book about it?
The Crucible.
The Crucible.
Mm.
Arthur Miller, did he write that?
No, not sure.
I think it was Arthur Miller. He was married to Marilyn Monroe for a while.
I don't know a lot about Days of Our Lives, but
Joe DiMaggio comes lunch.
I don't think it drew its inspiration from The Crucible. That much I do.
It'd be a much bleaker program. Blue Hills went from 1949 to 1976.
A relatively short run in the Days of Our Lives, by the Days of Our Lives measure. Big congratulations to the key member of this band. This is the inimitable Brian May playing on top of the Palace in 2002. God Save the Queen. I don't think it was specifically for this performance, but he has been knighted. He is now Sir Brian May for services to music and indeed charity too.
He might have been knighted because he might be the only performer who's going to play at Charles's coronation. A number of people have said no thanks, but no thanks. Kylie Minogue said no. Ed Sheeran said no. Adele.
Why is Charles so on the nose?
Well, I think the whole...
Is he answering for the whole monarchy at the moment?
Oh, I think he is. I think he's become a flashpoint. I mean, you look at given Andrew his joint, what is it, Frogmore Palace to live in, Frogmore Cottage.
Speaking of royal news, Andrew's about to release a memoir. Have you seen this?
If it's as good as his interview, I might actually buy it.
I want to hear more on him being incapable of sweating.
Yeah, it's a terrible condition.
Natalie says, I'm 44 and I've been watching Bold and the Beautiful since I was 16. So what is that? That's 28 years worth of 28 seasons worth?
The cognoscenti, those in the know, they just call it Bold.
Do they? Oh, I sound like
5:30. I'm watching Bold. I'm having a Sauv Blanc. I'm watching Bold.
All right. We're going to take a break. 5AA News is coming up. And in the next hour on the program, you're going to hear Matt Abraham dissect spin. David Koch, the host of Channel 7 Sunrise program. We're also going to catch up with Hannah Ford from Channel 7. This wonderful story of the 2 young girls being found from Kidman Park. The person who found them was Hannah Ford. She'll join us after 8:30 to tell the story.
You've decided to build? It's exciting stuff. When you've found land, it's a good idea to get advice on what you can build on your new parcel of paradise. Get Steve from Beechwood Homes to take a look. There's no obligation, and you'll get a great understanding of what's possible. Sloping block, flat block, weird shaped block, or block on a cliff? Speak with Steve from Beechwood Homes for all the possibilities. Life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. Google Beechwood Adelaide.
You can always expect the very best from Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of designer appliances. Right now, save up to $1,000 on ASCO cooking. Save up to $300 on all ASCO laundry and up to $1,000 off ASCO dishwashers. We can also arrange delivery, installation and removal of your old appliance and supply 6 months of our Power of 4 cleaning detergent. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of designer appliances. Payneham Road, St Peters. T's and C's apply.
Do you want to improve your memory, concentration and learning ability? There's a one-a-day formula called Caruso's Mega Memory, which contains the herbs Brahmi and Ginkgo biloba. Brahmi improves memory, learning and supports mental concentration and clarity. Ginkgo supports healthy blood circulation, brain function and brain performance. Caruso's Mega Memory is made in Australia and comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Try Caruso's Mega Memory, available from leading health stores and pharmacies. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
For nearly 40 years, no one has done certified used cars quite like Steinborner Automotive, with dedicated yards including SA's best range of commercials loaded and ready to go, including SA's only dedicated small car and SUV centre, and SA's only large SUV and 4x4 centre suited for any lifestyle. Steinborner still also has the best range of Commodores from ZBs to the collectibles. View all late model used vehicles at steinborner.com.au. Steinborner Automotive. It's well worth a trip.
Here at 5AA, we're all about supporting local. Here's who you can support around Adelaide. Celebrate the hits of the silver screen by the legendary Johnny Mercer, Sunday, March 19 at the Capri Theatre, followed by a screening of Oscar-winning Charade, capri.org.au. Don't miss Ty Penshaw, one of Australia's best Neil Diamond tributes, live at the Regal Theatre one night only, Saturday, March 25. Trybooking.com. 5AA, supporting local business.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio, and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Partly cloudy and 25 with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
Federal government ministers are brushing off Paul Keating's attack on the AUKUS deal. The former Labor Prime Minister has described the nuclear submarine agreement as the worst deal in history and also criticised the Foreign Minister's approach to improving Pacific relations. Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs Tim Watts has told Today while he respects Paul Keating's legacy, he hasn't been in government for nearly 3 decades.
Things have changed for Australia's strategic environment since the 1990s. We're seeing an unprecedented build-up of militaries in our region, and it's important in that context that Australia responds. If we want to maintain stability in our region, in the Indo-Pacific, we need to invest in the capability to deter conflict.
Australians will be working 2 hours more per week and earning 40% less if productivity performance doesn't improve over the coming decades. Treasurer Jim Chalmers will today deliver a speech on the issue, unveiling reforms to tackle the problem ahead of the release of the Productivity Commission report. A study's offered more insight into how those who accessed their super during the COVID pandemic spent the money. $38 billion was withdrawn by those who fit the criteria under the Morrison government's program. Research found people withdrew an average of $1,000 in cash, and most of it was spent on gambling. A case of extreme speed in the city overnight. A stolen Toyota RAV4 went through a red light on Anzac Highway at about 150 k's just before 1 a.m. Senior Constable Kate Dawson says it was followed to the western suburbs.
The car continued at about 140 kilometres an hour along Grange Road before it stopped on Mill Street in Findon. Police surrounded the area and soon after, the driver, who's a 30-year-old Findon man, was arrested without incident. The arrested man has been charged with a number of serious offences, including aggravated extreme speed.
The RAV4 had been reported stolen from Brighton on Tuesday, while a learner driver crashed into trees and a fence at Burton this morning before blowing over the limit. The 22-year-old man lost control as he turned onto Potts Crescent. He blew .178. A group of academics and students is accusing major universities of dumbing down degrees. Donna Siramana reports.
Public Universities Australia, an alliance of academic students and postgraduate associations, has criticised falling academic standards within our tertiary sector. In their submission to a Senate inquiry, they claim assessment tasks are being dumbed down to accommodate more domestic and international students with low levels of literacy and numeracy. They've told The Australian university executives are interested in making money, and the core functions of institutions such as teaching and research are frequently ignored.
A Queensland toddler has suffered internal burns and is in an induced coma after swallowing a button battery. Amity Buchanan's father says he took his 1-year-old daughter to Mackay Hospital, but she was sent home without an X-ray. The battery was detected on an X-ray more than 24 hours later after she woke up in agony. She's undergone a 2-hour operation to have it removed at Townsville Hospital. Police trying to arrest Imran Khan at his house in Pakistan have withdrawn after clashes with protesters interrupted a cricket match. More from Brett McLeod.
For the second day running, supporters of the former Prime Minister and cricket great have had running battles with police, throwing rocks at them and setting fire to vehicles, as authorities responded with tear gas and rubber bullets. Police were trying to arrest Imran Khan on charges of misusing state gifts, but he resisted going to court, saying he was concerned about safety in the wake of the assassination attempt which saw him wounded last November. The police operation has been put on hold, the government and court saying the clashes were disrupting a cricket tournament nearby. Mr Khan now says he'll willingly go to court at the weekend.
Turning to 5AA Sport.
Get 10-year warranty and 10 years capped price servicing on the new Mitsubishi Outlander at Agostino Mitsubishi.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Port Adelaide forward Arazio Fantasia says he can't wait to finally get back onto the field for an AFL match ahead of this Saturday's season opener against Brisbane. Fantasia failed to play a single minute of AFL last season after a frustrating year with injuries, but he's told David and Will he's had a big pre-season and he's feeling great.
My body's feeling really, really good. I've done all of the pre-season, which is nice, first time in a very long time. So to be able to change a few things and just make sure it was right with the high performance and the weights coach and a bit more Pilates, ask Boki, he's, the longevity king and doesn't stop. So, to get pick his brain a little bit and get some ideas of what to put in my programs really helped me.
Yeah, can't wait to see him. Let's go to cricket. Usman Khawaja's up to 7th on the ICC's Test batting rankings following his series against India. Meantime, the Redbacks will resume at 3 for 134 on day 3 of their Shield clash against New South Wales this morning, with Daniel Drew and Jake Lehmann at the crease. The Blues made 9 for 447 declared in their first innings. The Sydney Kings are NBL champions after winning the deciding Game 5 against the New Zealand Breakers 77-69 last night. Meantime, Josh Giddey scored another triple-double for the Oklahoma City Thunder as they beat the Brooklyn Nets by 14 points. Liverpool set to be knocked out of the Champions League, currently locked at 0-0 with Real Madrid with about 20 minutes to play, but the Reds are trailing 5-2 on aggregate. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc has been slapped with a 10-place grid penalty for this weekend's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And NFL quarterback Aaron Rodgers is looking to end his 18-year association with the Green Bay Packers, seeking a trade to the New York Jets. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now to the traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
At Findon, got a smash, Findon Road near Trimmer Parade. Wingfield, 2 breakdowns on the north-south motorway. Then near Grand Junction Road, heavy delays inbound back to the Salisbury Highway. Felixstowe, burst water main, Painter Road near Barnes Road, got a slip lane closed there. And we're busy at the moment, South Road at Theberton. Cameras today, you'll find them Grey Terrace, Rosewater and Main North Road at Enfield. Did you know Guzmani Gomez has a burrito with fries in it? They call it the Cali, and it's a cult classic. Look up hashtag GYG Did You Know for more fresh facts. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Partly cloudy, heading for 25 today. Friday, cloud clearing, 31. Partly cloudy, Saturday, 29 and 25 for Sunday. At the moment, 18. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
8 minutes after 8. It's almost time for Breaking at 8. It's almost time for Matt Abraham too. For those that have been waiting for his take on the spin of the last week, spin-rich environment, you might well say. Matt Abraham coming up in a few moments' time. Then after 8:30 today, the host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch, and we'll take you behind the scenes of what is a remarkable story. And a good news ending to what was a story that was looking really scary about the two young girls from Kidman Park that were found alive and well. It was 7 News journalist Hannah Ford, who was working the story, that found out where they were and ultimately alerted police to the situation. She'll tell her story on 5AA Breakfast after 8:30. Let's go Breaking at 8.
Well, today looms as D-Day for a pair who could be described somewhat comically as a Greenhill Road power couple. That is the State Secretary of the Australian Education Union, Leah York, and her partner, Branch President Andrew Goll. Now, our Ms York was the subject of yesterday's Breaking at 8, and to give you a bit of a sense as to how things can play out sometimes with this segment, we came on air at 8:05 and revealed the existence of a second video showing Ms York taking a red blouse from a Mount Gambier furniture store with some confusion as to whether she had actually paid for it or indeed just stuffed it into a bag and made for the exit. This followed an earlier video, which the advertiser had exclusively yesterday morning, showing her doing the same thing with a handbag. She explained this away by saying she had some toilet-related emergency. Not sure how that manifests itself in sticking a handbag in your own bag and running out of a store, but that's by the by. The second video kicked this into a different sphere, and exactly 40 minutes after our Breaking at 8 revealing the second video, she had tendered her resignation from a state government board, Funds SA, for which she receives, I understand, $35,000 a year for sitting on that board, which is charged largely with the sober and proper disbursement of vast amounts of public money, which, given what we're learning about Ms York, might not necessarily be the requisite sort of set of skills that she brings to the table to execute her duties there. But so the AEU itself, though, this is really interesting. They've called this emergency meeting to discuss this. Now, there's a lot of people within the Education Union who are deeply concerned about this weird overlap where she is the secretary and she gets $200,000 a year for that, but her partner, Andrew Goll, is the branch president. Now, in the normal state of affairs, you might actually get another office bearer like the branch president to look into the fact that the branch secretary is currently under police investigation over allegations of shoplifting. But that's a bit difficult when they live under the same roof. How this pans out is going to be interesting. I've been told that she's of no mind to leave quietly. And
can I just
for the pair of them, this is almost a $400,000 question, given what they would collectively earn running the union.
She did resign from...
She resigned of her own volition from Funds SA.
So why resign of one and not the other?
Well, all will be revealed this afternoon. She might do the honourable thing and walk in and fall on her sword. There's certainly no suggestion that her partner has done anything wrong, and people end up in relationships with their workmates sometimes.
But you're right. That's a peculiar scenario whereby you'd have to turn up. You're going to have to turn up and explain it to your partner, who's the boss.
Yeah.
How
anyway,
bizarre.
If they think they can breeze through this with innocent explanations as to how all of this occurred, I think that they're going to find out that that's not a blasé view that is shared by the combined leadership of the Australian Education Union.
13 minutes after 8, Matt Abraham shortly. We'll just check the fuel situation before Matt comes in the 5AA Breakfast studio, thanks to the free My RAA app. That's right, it's free. Download it right now and you can play Fuel Watch at home if you so desire. Here's the cheap spots. Coles Express, Grand Junction Road, Mansfield Park, $1.56.9. The BP St Bernards Road, Hectorville, $1.87.9. The cheapest unleaded is at the BP Goodwood Road, Wayville, $1.67.9. Whenever prices go up, we're told the oil barrel price is to blame. Well, it's international pressures, and have you seen the price of West Texas crude and so on and so forth? It doesn't ever feel like it really goes the other way. For example, West Texas crude is $68 a barrel at the moment. Now, if you don't follow it particularly closely, you go, oh, okay, big whooey. It was twice that. It was twice that during the last year. A price is half of what they were a year ago. I mean, we look at $1.60 right now. Same. They sort of knock around the margins, don't they, between the mid-$60s and the $2 mark. We haven't seen the $2.20, $2.30 thing like we saw, but they're about half what they were. It's some funny business that goes on here. Anyway, that's the cheapest unleaded. The cheapest diesel, the Shell at Petters Crescent Regency Park is at $1.84.5. We're going to check traffic, and when we return, it will be with Matt Abraham.
Thanks, Will. At Findon, got a smash on Findon Road near Trimmer Parade. Wingfield, residual delays clearing from an earlier breakdown on the north-south motorway near Grand Junction Road. Felixstowe, burst water main, Paynham Road near Barnes Road, and we're busy right now at South Road at Featherton. Curra's Andrews Road, Andrews Farm. I've got one at Trimmer Parade, Seaton right now. Enjoy the Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 SUV with savings from $3,900, but only while limited stocks last. Visit a Mercedes-Benz retailer today. T&Cs apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Rowie and Timmy G on the 5AA Sports Show.
Season 2023 is upon us, and I tell you what, it's exciting. Thank the Lord it's back. We've got the coach of the Adelaide Crows on the line, Matthew Nix.
We know we've improved. We know we're getting better every game we play.
Rowie and Timmy G.
We're getting more cohesion as we play more games together. The challenge comes to be able to stick to it. An opposition, take you away from what is your game plan. The strongest ones do anyway.
4 p.m. weekdays on 5AA.
Hi, Australian Athletics champion Matt Denny here. Coles are the proud partner of Grassroots Little Athletics. Since 2017, they've donated over 3.8 million bananas to help little athletes live healthier, happier lives. Coles, value the Australian way.
You can always expect the very best from Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of designer appliances. Right now, save up to $1,000 on ASCO cooking. Save up to $300 on all ASCO laundry and up to $1,000 off ASCO dishwashers. We can also arrange delivery, installation and removal of your old appliance and supply 6 months of our Power of 4 cleaning detergent. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of designer appliances. Paynham Road, St Peters. T's and C's apply.
Now, you all know that I love my local Mitre 10, or as those in the know like to call it, the other hardware store. It's my one-stop shop for all my DIY jobs, whether it's something indoors that needs fixing or out in the garden. They've got everything you need and the staff are great. They'll happily give you advice on the best products to help you get all those jobs done.
So if you're planning on some home improvements or have some fix-it jobs to do, or just want to spruce things up a bit around the home or in the garden, head into your local mighty helpful Mitre 10.
And look, the next few days, great gardening weather, so get into it. For great prices on the right products for the job, along with helpful advice, choose the other hardware store. Mighty helpful, Mitre 10.
Speak with One Solution and they'll tell you cybercrime is not a big business problem, a government problem, or a small enterprise problem. It's everyone's problem. Ransomware, malware, and adware remain the #1 threat. One call to One Solution will put your business in a safe place. It's the smartest, most cost-effective business decision you'll ever make. Get in touch with One Solution, winner of the National Telstra Customer Experience Award. onesolution.net.au.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
Right on 18 minutes after 8.
Out of 10, every time.
Matthew Abraham on 5AA Breakfast.
Yeah, brand new time, just for this week only. Arazio Fantasia in earlier, which means we've got Matt after 8 o'clock today, thanks to your local Mitre 10, friendly service, expert advice, quality brands at great prices. That is mighty helpful Mitre 10. Morning to you, Matt.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, David. And good morning to the big boss, Peter Charlton, who's in town. I've only heard good things about him. And
oh, look, so have we.
Yeah, I know. We've been off air just shooting a breeze about Pete.
If I knew he was here, I wouldn't have worn my thongs to work today.
When you're at the ABC, did you have to say that when the Prime Minister came to town? Yeah, you're hearing good things about him.
Similar. We used to beat the Prime Minister.
Yeah,
if we got
did
the
actually.
But
What I would suggest to Peter Charlton, based on your history, is he doesn't come in for a quick chat.
You really nail him to the wall.
Yeah, no, that's right. Always suck up to the bosses.
Who was the ABC boss when you were there? David Hill? No,
during the previous loss when I was in Canberra, it was
You had Mark Scott for a while. And
Mark Scott was terrific. Yeah,
he was a great bloke.
Yeah.
He's a lovely guy.
We had
he was at Riders Week.
We had a few.
Must have joined the
I better
PLA.
be careful what I say actually, because there haven't been that many of them.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on without comment then.
One was a psycho though. But in my personal opinion.
That feels worthy of further exploration, but maybe that can be in Daily column one day. Matt, I just thought everything I've read and seen and heard about since the subs announcement came out, it is wall-to-wall spin, really.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know where you begin with this. We've been everything from, imminent war with China to the most complex construction project in the history of mankind. I'll just leave it.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Well, Peter Malinowskis says these are the most complex. The fact that the Commonwealth sees in South Australia the ability to build the most complex machines that have ever been produced in the history of humanity says a lot about where South Australia is going. You mentioned my In Daily column. Well, I do give the Large Hadron Collider a mention.
Pretty complex.
27 kilometres of electromagnetic, tunnel speeding particles to discover the origins of the universe. I do give that a bit of a plug as a sort of, I suppose, to him it's really just
child's play.
It's nothing compared to a nuclear-powered submarine. But
maybe the good people, in Bern, Switzerland, when they want to build another one, they'll go, well, we should have got Osborne to do it. We've really missed a trick here.
I think.
Are you a sub cynic, Matt?
Yes. I am. Yes, I'm a hard-nosed
skeptic.
I'm a skeptic. I'm about South Australia. I think we've been dudded on the submarine deal by, first of all, Scott Morrison laying the groundwork for this and cancelling the French sub deal. We were going to build 12 conventionally powered submarines for around $90 billion. And we're now, allegedly, sometime in 20 years' time, so 2042, we're meant to have produced the first of these hybrid Shandy class of submarine, the British, American, Australian submarine. So that's 20 years away before that will happen. And I think South Australia's been dudded. And I think Peter Malinowskis privately would know that. He knows we've been dudded.
Dudded how?
Well, because
the delay.
We were meant to be building submarines now. We were meant to be building all of the new AUKUS submarines. We were meant to build them all. That was the deal. They were all going to be built here in Adelaide. They're not all going to be built here in Adelaide. We're going to have possibly 5, but certainly 3 Virginia-class, second-hand Virginia-class submarines, only raced on weekends. We're going to have those in Adelaide.
It's only got 300,000 Ks on the clock,
Exactly.
For another 10 years.
So that's what we're getting first. Before we get that, we're going to rotate. This is around 2027. We're going to rotate existing US and British subs, I think 4 US ones, 1 British sub, through WA naval ports. So we're going to have effectively free use of these nuclear-powered submarines off our waters to cover this gap in our security. And then we're going to buy in these 3 and then 5 if there are production delays, Virginia-class nuclear-powered submarines. Again, they're already in service, so they're used submarines. That doesn't matter. I mean, they've got the reactor's got a life of about 30 years. And then we're meant to be sometime around, in 20 years' time, so sometime a little bit before that, we're meant to start work on this yet to be designed, yet to be budgeted really, new submarine. That will be a British Australian project with US input.
There's already talk, and I read this out before the 7 o'clock news, there's a piece in today's Oz defence expert saying this is a Frankenstein approach where we're going to have the first pile of American-built subs, then we're going to start building new subs that will be, in a design sense, different.
Well, we also have the extended life of Type Collins as well, so there's three theoretically running at the same time.
Well, they may not do that. That's a problem. That's one of the problems. That was going to be an Osborne job as well. Yeah.
So if there's people, and this is like some former Pentagon bloke going, doesn't make sense. It just makes sense to keep buying them. Can you see a future situation where someone says, you know what, like, and conceivably, say over the next 5 years, we find out that Osborne is costing more than we thought it would. There's a huge temptation to just keep buying them potentially.
Of course. They're saying it now, as you said. These aren't, and the people saying this aren't just sort of lightweights. This sort of stuff, particularly in newspapers, like serious newspapers like The Australian, this sort of stuff is, they're very well sourced, defence reporters in Australia. I reckon half of them are spooks, but working for us, of course. But
mental note: the man knows too much. The eagle has landed.
I once had a producer in Canberra who went off to Washington with her husband, and I used to joke at dinners saying, "Oh, he's a spook." And as I was driving her to the airport, she said, "Will you stop saying my husband's a spook? Because he is."
The News Corp guys might work for ASIO, but a lot of your old mates at the ABC were members of the Communist Party.
Exactly. But anyway, so this is being said already. Why are we going to run two different submarine fleets? A Virginia-class fleet, we'll keep them in service, and a British design, yet to be designed, fleet of subs. So we have two different technologies, effectively, two different crewing structures. They have trouble getting crews for the conventional Collins-class submarines.
Can I play the devil's advocate of what I'm sure Peter Malinowskis' aides are yelling at their radio right now? And you pick apart how credible you do or don't think.
They don't get that in business class flying to London, do they?
I'm sure he's got
they probably do.
He's probably got some state admin that's sort of tuning in. Maybe he's keeping an eye on. Certainly listening to your segment, Matt. They would say that, okay, the original French attack class submarine was meant to be 12 planned. We're getting 8 of this new model. Yeah, you're right. The maths works out on that. But because of the requirement to build a shipyard now capable of building and servicing nuclear submarines, it's going to employ more people over the life of the program than the French one would have.
Well,
that's their numbers.
I know.
That's their numbers.
I know that's the numbers, and I know we've got $2 billion to build, the world's biggest shed at Osborne, and I know there's this what sounds like a ridiculous land swap where we're going to the Commonwealth's going to give us Keswick Barracks, land at Keswick Barracks.
Nice place to have a house.
In return for Osborne, like swamp.
That would give Keith Collins something new to chain himself to.
The swamp. Well, where is the Australian Navy headquartered in Adelaide? Keswick. I would say good luck jemmying the Australian Navy headquarters out of Keswick. So I'd watch that space. I mean, we may get a little parcel of land there, but yeah.
So the other part,
Keith won't be the only one chaining himself to the bulldozers on Keswick.
To round out the thought, I guess the other justification, whether you say it makes sense in dollars of sense of having the two at the same time in the lead up with the Virginia class, beyond the capability gap, which is what the defence boffins all want, would be this idea that you need to crew these boats for a generation and get just a sum of expertise of people who know how to work them. Australian people who know how to work them.
Okay, sure. They're going to need to plan for this sort of stuff, whatever submarines we run. But I think the conversation, which has been going for a while, but as David said, is starting to, questions are being asked, not just here, but in Washington. Why would we build these subs? If we get these...
The problem with
that's the perennial question.
And then the argument then becomes, well, we need to do it because of the jobs. Then it's like, well, hang on, is this defence policy or is this industry policy?
The other issue for me is we have had almost zero public formal public debate about this, like a defence white policy paper or anything, something Paul Keating, in his epic spray of just about everybody yesterday at the National Press Club, pointed out. But I think he makes a very valid point. This is a big step for us, because we really are going to enter the nuclear fuel cycle with this decision. Whatever we do, however we do this, whether Adelaide, in the unlikely event we end up building nuclear-powered submarines in Adelaide, we are going to have to get rid of the stuff ourselves. That will become our responsibility. We're not going to be able to do what we've been doing up until now, and that is sort of, push it off elsewhere.
Hide it in a basement.
So that's going to go somewhere. We're told it's going to go on defence land. Well, there's a lot of defence land in far north of South Australia, and some of it's, has been well contaminated by the Maralinga nuclear test. That's defence land. It's the Woomera prohibited area, and it's prohibited for that reason. That would have to be high on their list of where they're going to have a high-level nuclear waste dump. And the other issue is, if we're going to have nuclear subs, why wouldn't we have nuclear weapons on them? Well, I just don't get it.
We're not allowed to, though, because of the non-proliferation treaty.
Oh, well, that's now. But once you sort of tiptoe down the nuclear path with nuclear propulsion, and you've got subs that are not only silent, but they're deadly. And what if we then mount this argument that, well, China's become such a big threat, our biggest trading partner. I'm not sure I worked that out. We're going to spend $368 billion potentially. That's the upper limit to protect ourselves from our biggest trading partner. But we really need to protect ourselves. Like, we really need to scare them. We're going to need nuclear arms on these ships. The US and British ships, what are they going to leave their guns at the saloon, on the saloon bar when they're rotating through WA? I think, why? If you're going to have a nuclear sub and, they're powerful deterrents, well, go the whole hog. Nuke them up.
I started but didn't complete an international studies thesis on that exact question, Matt, but we can't get into it at 8 seconds to 8:30, unfortunately.
No, Peter Charlton's listening. He's ready for it.
Don't miss the news.
Hey, let's rate some spin.
9 out of 10, out of 10, every time.
Okay, we did mention that Paul Keating gave an epic spray where he sort of called... He effectively said that Prime Minister Albanese, Richard Marles, Penny Wong have been suckered. We've been treated like suckers. He used all sorts of language like ning-nongs and all that sort of stuff. They put this to Richard Marles.
Let's start with your response to Paul Keating's accusation that you and Penny Wong influenced the Prime Minister to make the worst international decision by a Labor government in 100 years.
Well, whatever Paul Keating says about myself, the Foreign Minister, the Prime Minister, you won't hear a bad word from us about him.
Killing him with kindness.
Oh, boy.
Take that.
Can you imagine what they're saying? I'm giving him a solid 8 out of 10.
9 out of 10, out of 10.
Firing an all torpedo tube doors, Matt Abraham, this morning. Good on you, Matt. We'll catch you next week.
Pleasure.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Partly cloudy and 25 with the 8:30 news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Gliderroll Garage Doors new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderroll.com.au.
Alarm bells are ringing after more than 2.6 million Australians raided their super during COVID. And not only for how much we pulled out, but what we did with it. The Morrison government's early release stimulus package saw $38 billion released. Analysis reveals much of that money went on new furniture, electronics and takeaway. But Assistant Professor of Economics Stephen Hamilton says one category in particular stood out.
The single largest category is gambling. In fact, on average, people spent more on gambling than they spent repaying credit cards.
A new report is warning Australians in the future will be working an extra 2 hours a week for lower incomes, unless more's done to lift the nation's productivity. Treasurer Jim Chalmers will use a speech on the issue to discuss what's needed to improve workers' skills and make the economy more dynamic. The Productivity Commission will release its full report tomorrow. Fears about a potential broader banking crisis have sparked share market turmoil. Swiss regulators have said they're ready to help Credit Suisse if necessary, after concerns about the state of the firm saw its shares plunge 24%. CommSec Chief Economist Craig James says it's a reflection of the broader concerns among investors.
Well, we are seeing concerns about the banking system across the globe at the moment. That's why we're seeing declines in shares in the United States, in Europe, and also in terms of Asia.
A learner driver has blown over the limit after crashing his car at Burton this morning. Senior Constable Kate Dawson says he hit trees and a fence on Potts Crescent before ending up in a front yard.
He was breath tested and allegedly returned a positive reading of 0.178. The man was reported for 2 counts of contravening a learner's permit, drink driving and driving without due care, and he lost his licence. On the spot for 12 months, his car was towed from the scene and he will be appearing in the Elizabeth Magistrates Court at a later date.
A house has been extensively damaged by fire at Broadview. The blaze broke out around 2:30 on Collins Street, with part of the roof collapsing. No one was home at the time and the cause is unclear. The initial damage bill is around $300,000. Lifeline is marking 60 years of operation. The 24/7 telephone crisis line was launched on the 16th of March 1963. A host of celebrations will be held to mark the occasion. And patron John Brogden says that won't stop volunteers from carrying out their vital work.
Our Lifeline volunteers and staff are just going to keep on working. They'll be there from midnight to midnight, working hard, looking after people and helping them get through very difficult times.
One of the headline acts at this year's Adelaide Fringe will take to the stage tonight. Lord is performing in SA for the first time since 2014. Ticket holders are being reminded the show's been moved to the Entertainment Centre. The New Zealander shot to fame as a 16-year-old when the song Royals became a US #1. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Rand.
Thank you for that, Kendall. Let's start with some football first. And Port Adelaide forward Arazio Fantasia says he hopes to play as much as he can this season. The 27-year-old failed to get any game time last season through injury, and he's told David and Will he wants to make up for it this year.
I want to play every single game. I haven't played for a fair while, so you know, unless the high performance tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Look, you're just flagging a little bit," like maybe, I'd still probably, you know,
you'd still argue.
Yeah, I'd be crying and screaming, and you know, I still want to play.
Richmond takes on Carlton tonight in the season opener at the MCG. Well, FIFA has expanded the 2026 World Cup to 48 nations. It'll see 12 groups of 4 contest the group stages. Meantime, Liverpool has been knocked out of the European Champions League following a 1-0 loss to Real Madrid, the goal coming in the 78th minute.
Benzema! Well, that should finish off Liverpool.
It certainly did. That audio thanks to Stan Sport. Madrid progressing 6-2 on aggregate, while Napoli has also progressed. They had a 3-0 win against Eintracht Frankfurt to go into the quarterfinals. To tennis, and the Indian Wells is on. American Francis Tiafoe is through to the semi-finals after a straight sets win against Britain's Cameron Norrie, while on the women's side, Australian Open champion Aryna Sabalenka crushed Coco Gauff 6-4, 6-love to move into the final 4. And in some hockey, the Kookaburras have ended their Pro League's mini-tournament with a 4-3 penalty shootout loss to the host nation, India. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now to the traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
At Wingfield, got residual delays clearing from an earlier breakdown on the north-south motorway. That's near Grand Junction Road. Felixstowe, burst water main, Payne Road near Barnes Road. Got a slip lane closed here at the moment. Quite busy South Road at Thurberton. Got lane out of action at Monopara today. Main North Road near Curtis Road with a camera, Port River Expressway at Gilman. Red Roosters, $2.50 snack subs, each with succulent chicken, crisp lettuce, and your choice of sauce packed into a sub. The Roosters calling, get it where you can, while you can, available all day. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
To the weather, partly cloudy and 25, cloud clearing tomorrow 31, partly cloudy on Saturday 29 and cloudy for Sunday 25. At the moment 19. More news as it happens on 5AA.
There's a mute button on your TV remote. Don't you wish there was one on your partner's snoring? Thankfully, there is. Mute is a comfortable nasal breathing device that increases airflow through the nose by gently opening the airways during sleep. So there's less breathing through your mouth, which is often the cause of snoring, and less snoring means more sleep for me.
Hit the mute button on snoring. Always follow the directions for use.
This is a circus for grown-ups. Rouge, winner of Best Circus 2020 Adelaide Fringe. Rouge is back at Gluttony by popular demand with a mind-bending blend of death-defying acrobatics, grandiose cabaret and twisted burlesque. Titillating, subversive and shocking with old favourites and brand new acts to shock, tease and delight the senses. This is Australian circus cabaret at its climax. Critics called it filthy and gorgeous. Rouge. Book your tickets now at adelaidefringe.com.au.
Some builders think a sloping block has limitations. When Beechwood Homes look at a sloping block, they think, the possibilities. Beechwood Homes know how to make the most of a sloping block. In fact, they specialise in them. Beechwood will design a home that works with the land you have, taking full advantage of every square metre. So if you're looking at a sloping block, go for it. Beechwood has your back. Life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. Google Beechwood Adelaide.
As the K's tick over in your car, it's good to know Toyota will help make sure it never misses a beat. Year after year, K after K after K. With Toyota Genuine Service, the feeling never fades. Oh, what a feeling, Toyota.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
21 minutes to 9, behind closed doors, not too far away. The host of Channel 7's Sunrise program, David Koch, coming up in a few moments' time as well.
I think we should invent a subscription-only podcast for the conversations we have during the ad breaks.
I'm not sure we have long careers if the ad break conversations.
Seriously, it would be buyer beware that it would be comparable to buying a Derek and Clive cassette. But in all seriousness, we just had a side-splitting conversation about famous Paul Keating sprays, and
you got one
dead set. Oh, I'd love to tell that story on air, but we would be in breach of all the AUKUS laws.
So there you go.
It's compelling.
In the absence of a compelling Paul Keating at David Penberthy spray story, who doesn't love hot cross buns? Hey, well, we're giving away some goodie bags, all thanks to Keating's Bakery. We had Sharon in, of course, last week, learn about Keating's. Has nothing to do with the town of Keating or indeed the name of the people involved.
Totally
they just invented it. So the first caller through right now will receive 2 Keating's variety goodie bags. Just call us on 8223 0055. We have been following, like most South Australians, really closely the story of young Daniela and Indiana, aged 7 and 5, who were missing from 11 a.m. on Saturday, last seen leaving their Kidman Park home. They were found after 3 days, safe and well. It was a story that had a really happy ending. Thankfully, they were found. It's a story that has a remarkable behind-the-scenes element that needs to be told as well, because the person who found them is our next guest, 7 News reporter Hannah Ford, should say former 5AA newsroom aficionado too. Hannah, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
We're good, Hannah. I'll tell you what, reporters being sent out to get the story, it's a pretty comprehensive way of getting it. They actually find these kids. It's just extraordinary.
Well, I tell you, as a police reporter, you don't very often get to have a happy ending or a good news story. I'm often speaking to families who have lost people, and so to speak to a family, to have people found, was a really nice feeling yesterday. Obviously, as you said, the faces of these girls were flashed across every news channel. They were missing for 3 days. It was a tense 3 days. It was an agonising wait for their families who feared the worst. I spoke to them. They were in tears. They weren't sleeping. They weren't eating. They really didn't know how these girls were going. And so after that, yesterday morning was when the breakthrough came.
So how did that happen? How did you know it was them?
Well, actually, the family got in contact after someone else spotted the mother. And I went to the shopping centre where this mother was spotted and spoke to several people and verified her identity, as police were doing too, and realised that, yes, that was her. It matched all the descriptions. And then that then led me to a house nearby. So we were there for some time, knocking on the door, talking to neighbours, working out exactly who these people were in relation to this biological mother. And then we heard children. I heard the cries of a girl saying, "Mummy, mummy," and so did the neighbours. And I spoke to the neighbours and I said, is there usually children in that house? And they said, no, there's no children there ever usually. So that is when we knew that perhaps that is where these girls were being held. And that is when we rang police.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm.
So the mum was there too?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, she was.
Did you get to talk to her?
I didn't talk to her. Obviously, I knocked on the door and I spoke through the window to associates of hers who were inside the house who, swore to me that they didn't know the children, they hadn't seen the mother, that the children were definitely not here. The police had been here, they've, checked it out. No, they're definitely not in here. They denied seeing them.
So were they covering for the mother?
Oh, I assume so. I can't say that, but...
well, the kids are in the house. They're in the house.
It seems a bit that way. Hey,
it does seem that way. I know what I heard, and so do the neighbours, and that's where they were found.
So, what was it like? You were there then when the girls were reunited with their family. That must have just been an incredible moment, Hannah.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was beautiful, and the little girls themselves, they're just beautiful girls. Considering what I don't know what they'd been through, but they were just little girls. They were just playing together and hugging their sisters. And one of the nice bits was also about the police who went in and got them that night and took them in the car and helped them get a Happy Meal on the way home because they were hungry, and asked what they wanted on the radio, and they said Taylor Swift. These are just normal little girls who are so happy to be back with their family and doing what normal little girls should be doing.
Geez, it's pretty confusing for them though, isn't it? I mean, crikey, kids aren't pieces of property. You're their custodians, not their owners. And how do they process what's been going on?
Yeah.
Exactly. So to see, it was a remarkable reunion yesterday. To see them back in the arms of their stepmother and their father and their sisters was just so heartwarming. And you don't often get to see that in this job. So it was really nice to have a job that finishes like that with a really happy ending.
Well, congratulations to you too, Hannah, for being a huge part of why that reunion was able to happen. It's just remarkable investigative work. And I think people can still see the story by going to the 7 News Adelaide Twitter account as well, and they can see everything that you've just described. Thanks for talking to us this morning.
Thank you. Hannah
Ford, that's just...
Hannah's right too. Pretty rare in police rounds where you actually end up covering stories that where it all ends for the best. I hated being a police reporter. I did it for about 3 months.
And there's no way I could do it.
No, I don't want to, I just can't, particularly when it involves kids, I just can't even bring myself, I don't even know how to talk to people who've lost a child. It's just wholly, horrifically unrelatable.
Nice that this one ended up.
For sure.
Such a good ending. 14 minutes to 9, we're going to check traffic and come back with the host of Channel 7's Sunrise program, David Koch, in a moment.
At Felixstowe, look out for a burst water main this morning. Paynham Road near Barnes Road. Got a slip lane closed there. Busy right now, South Road at Theberton, also the Port River Expressway at Perkins Drive. Got a lane out of action at Munno Para, Main North Road near Curtis Road. Speeds at 40 with cameras today. Bridge Road, Salisbury East and Valletta Road at Fulham Gardens. Does your home need a refresh? Right now at Freedom, get up to 25% off selected sofas, living, dining and bedroom furniture. Sale on now, only at Freedom. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
On 5AA mornings today, the nuclear submarine deal has opened the way to a discussion on nuclear power in Australia at a time our electricity bills will rise by some 23%. I'm Matthew Pantelis. That's one of the topics. Join me from 9.
Hello, I'm Lynn Andrews. For over 50 years, the team at Lynn Andrews Real Estate have made it easy to manage residential and commercial property. Whether you own a single residential home or multiple commercial properties, our passion for property investment means we have a great deal of knowledge to share. How to invest safely and properly. Matching the right tenant with the right property every time. We're here to help. Visit lynandrews.com.au.
At Specsavers, we understand how important it is to hear well. We also understand that right now, the last thing you need is to pay more than you should for hearing aids. That's why we're making some noise. Because you deserve to know what you'll pay straight away with upfront prices. And our everyday low prices on latest tech hearing aids doesn't mean you'll miss out on quality or professional advice. So for hearing care for all, not the few, should have gone to Specsavers.
At Anderson Solicitors, putting people first is second nature. No matter who you are or what your problem is, we are committed to helping find the right solution for you every time. With locations across the state, whether you need help with family law, commercial law, wills and estates or personal injury claims, talk to Andersons today. Visit andersons.com.au or phone 8238 6666. Anderson Solicitors. People first in every case.
At Bob Burns Blinds, you get more. More choice, more style, more service. And for a limited time, even more savings. Right now, the more curtains and blinds you buy, the more discount you'll receive at Bob Burns Blinds. Quick installation, high quality materials, an extensive product range, and first-rate service. That's gotta leave you feeling moreish. Don't wait. Buy more, save more. Right now at Bob Burns Blinds. Book your free measure and quote today at bobburnsblinds.com.au. Conditions apply.
Hey, you in the car. If your next service is due, just remember that Mawson Lakes Mazda has your back. We'll take care of you with next day servicing, complimentary loan car, vacuum and wash, and your breakfast or lunch is on us. Your car gets the love too, with our state-of-the-art service centre brimming with top-trained mechanics. At Mawson Lakes Mazda, we'll look after your car and look after you. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
10 to 9 behind closed doors in just a minute. But first, the host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch. And I feel like, Koshy, this is sort of the start of your segment for the year because, I mean, we've been knocking around with cost of living and interest rates and the state of the global economy and whatnot.
Bank collapses.
Yeah, bank collapses.
All the stuff that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly right. Round one starts. Hostilities resume. Oh, it's a great time of year, Koshy.
It is great to have footy back. Adelaide Crows on top of the table, if you look at the table this morning.
Yeah,
so
we always start well, alphabetically.
Yeah, exactly. Is a good idea. You realise how much you miss it. I quite like my cricket, but, summer seems pretty long, doesn't it? And so it's just good to have the footy back, and I hear Raz was on with you guys today, and he's up and about, physically good headspace. So
it was great seeing him in here, fit and tanned, rested and ready after all of the injury dramas he had last year. But I guess our first question to you, David, is after the disaster that was the pre-season, how does Port get the year back on track?
Oh, look.
That was a joke,
Great,
mate.
thanks for that. Straight up. We're healthy, which is a big thing. I just don't put the mockers on it. I sort of think back to round one last year at the Gabba, and what a nightmare that was when we got all the injuries in the final quarter when we were ahead. So, it's good to have a fit and a healthy team out there. Raz is a really important part of that, teaming up with Junior Rioli. I think will be add a bit of firepower to the forward line. And I've got Raz in my Supercoach team. He's only 202,000. So I reckon he's going to be a bargain.
A few of our listeners texted in this morning, including Crows fans, saying they've put him in their side too.
Yeah. We have a family Supercoach competition that goes from my mother 89-year-old mother down to my grandkids, nieces and nephews and brothers. It's such good fun.
Hey, Koshy,
and that's all part of footy.
I think the Supercoach team would be a really interesting point where the two sides of your brain come into direct conflict, the economic side and the football side. How many Port players do you have in your Supercoach team?
Well, I've only got 3 at the moment.
Oh, okay. So the cold-hearted rationalist wins out.
I got Raz in there. I've got to beat the family.
Connor Rosie, he'd be in there.
Connor Rosie, I've got 3, sorry, and Miles Bergman. Miles Bergman, I reckon, is going to have a breakout year this year.
Do you have any Crows players in there, or do you have to draw the moral line somewhere?
No, I've got Luke Pedler on the bench.
Oh.
I reckon he will be a good cash cow this year. And Laird is just too expensive for me. I'm not going to pay $700,000 for a Crows player.
You mean in fantasy football, or you mean as club president? If you could buy one Crows player for Port in real life, who would it be?
Oh, geez, you'd have to leave that with me.
Does our rumour start?
Because it's not just ability; it's their fitting into the culture.
I see you want to buy one who's not arrogant, is what you're saying.
Can't think of one. Sorry.
So who's going to win the showdowns?
Oh, well, according to your mate Raleigh, who is, I think, a bit delusional, saying the Crows are going to win both showdowns and finish ahead of Port Adelaide, and then he nicks off for a few weeks.
Yeah.
So at least we have some sanity in the afternoon now with Treaders joining Timmy.
Yeah, how did you manage that? Well, you've really snuck that one by us here.
5AA is meant to be a Crows conspiracy, and we've got 2 Port legends doing the drive show on their own.
I know. It's not called 5 Double Crow for nothing. And after 150 years of this radio station, at least we're getting some balance back.
Well, good luck, Koshy. I'll have the Chardonnay chilled Saturday afternoon cheering on the Mighty Lions.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
Speak to you next week. The host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch. That felt like good. That's how that segment's meant to work.
That's exactly how it's meant to work. That's how our state works.
Exactly.
Self-deprecating humour and bagging your mates. That's what it's all about.
Koshy, the finance mind, turning his attention to his Supercoach team too. So I could have talked to him about that for an hour. That was fascinating. All right, let's go behind closed doors. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing, and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast on 13 13 64.
And when we get behind
The 5AA Sports Show with Rowie and Timmy G.
Yeah, here we are again for a bit of sport, and Stephen Rose here, and he's excited for round 1 of the football. How are you, my friend?
Oh, Timmy G, I am optimistically hopeful for the Crows, and Port might go all right too.
Well, it all gets going on Thursday.
Now, the AFL has released their new updated concussion guideline. Let's call it a protocol. Or is it a guideline? Probably more a protocol than a guideline, but I don't know, it could be a guideline. Timmy G has studied the new guideline. Or is it a protocol? It's about 18 pages long, so just summarise it for us, Timmy G.
Well, the quick summary is it'll be on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
But basically it's about the recovery period after a knock, and that's where the detail lies.
Well, I think case-by-case is a good thing.
Yeah, I do too, and I trust the club doctors to make the right decision.
Yeah, I do too.
But now they've got a guideline that they can follow.
So it's a guideline, not a protocol.
Well, it's a set of rules they can follow.
Yeah, like a guideline.
It's laid out in a way that tells you this is the procedure.
Yeah, so more of a protocol.
Well, whatever it is, Rowie, it's designed to look after the players and try to make sure that concussion is a thing of the past.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I think we're all mindful of the serious consequences concussion can have, and now the AFL is addressing that and trying to make our game better and safer, because no one wants concussion and the misery that can bring.
No, that's right, and a lot of people bring it back to what's happened in boxing, and speaking of that, I went to a mate's place the other night and watched the Tim Tszyu fight.
Oh, really? Did he win?
Yeah, he did, convincingly.
He won?
Yep.
Well, did he knock him out?
Yeah, he did.
Oh!
Yeah, he hit the bloke and the guy had had baby giraffe legs wobbling around and they gave it to Tim Zoo.
Oh, how good's that?
Oh, yeah, Tim Zoo was always going to hurt him.
Oh, nothing like a good smack to the head.
Boxing just exists as its own sort of combat sports in their own sort of world orbit, don't they?
Yeah, well, we were talking about it the other day. Like,
I suppose though
why is there off limits?
you go into combat sports knowing probably the risks involved. Well, maybe you didn't expect those same risks at the AFL. Maybe.
Well,
I struggle with it because I actually really like boxing.
I don't like mixed martial arts stuff. Can't stand the octagon.
I struggle to get into that, but old-fashioned boxing is excellent. Hey, we're out of time.
We are out of time. My mate Ben, though, sent in a good poser. He's a smart guy, Ben. He won the car on Wheel of Fortune, so he knows what he's talking about. He asks this: what's it going to cost us to convert the US subs to right-hand drive?
That's an excellent question.
Or do you need a special licence for them, like if you've got an old Chevy? Thanks, Ben.
This is all accounted for in the $400 billion we're spending, I assume. Or maybe it'll be the first blowout.
Details to follow.
Matt Pantelis is coming up in a moment. We'll be back tomorrow morning from 6.
We've all been affected by the floods, but our resilience runs deep, ready to rise up to the occasion.